The fuck's up, motherfucker? I see you. What you want?
But you don't see me.
What you want? You want that beef? You can't handle that beef. Maybe you can. What do you think, Fat Mack? Do they need the beef?
I don't know. I've handled your beef quite a few times.
You're really good at handling the beef. It's almost startling.
It's a practice.
Oh, shit. Episode 25.
I used to work for a butcher. A lot of people don't know that.
It's the quarter of a centrisode.
20. Quarter of a centrisode. I love it. I love it.
That should have been the title or the show episode title. Blah, 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 blah. Pay no attention to the white man.
Quarter of a centrisode. You folks have stuck with us for 25 episodes. And when you consider that not only is this a 2-hour show, but our first few episodes, maybe even our first 10 perhaps, were holy shit. Y'all have spent a ton of time
putting up with our bullshit.
The old Fat Mack.
Putting up with our bullshit.
Yeah. Putting up with your bullshit. They love me. They just
unfortunately, for the 25th episode, it wouldn't be a beef stick celebration without numerous technical issues, and we already have them before the show even started. It's beautiful. It's wonderful.
We've spent an hour and a half trying to get where we are right now. We spent an hour and a half.
And we're still not any better. A couple of seconds ago, you sounded like, remember in the Pinocchio cartoon when they go under the water in the whale and they're talking underwater, you can hear them, but it sounds all bubbly? That's what you were sounding like.
Oh, I was underwater for a second, Loke.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's what that was. That's what that was. Yeah, not only that, on top of the technical difficulties, both PAystee, Whyt, and myself are trying to recover from
suffering from
illnesses.
Internal technical difficulties.
Holy shit.
Mm.
Yeah, internal technical difficulties, and for quite a while. And I'm doing the best I've done probably in 4 days today, but I'm still feeling rough, and I have to apologize in advance because I may be stepping away for a little bit here and there, and it'll probably be abruptly when I do, and I apologize for that, but it's better than the opposite.
Shit in your pants?
So be thankful of that. Yeah, we don't need to do that.
Yeah. I'm going to be coughing all over this microphone all night. Thankfully, my girlfriend loves me, and she gave me some throat lozenges. So maybe not so much, but we'll see. Mm.
We'll see. Then when it's over, you can give her something for her throat also.
Oh, yeah. I'm supposed to give you something for your throat when we're done.
Oh,
yeah. She's smiling and blushing.
Yeah.
She's like a tomato right now.
So I guess, I don't know what you decided to do on your end, but I'm just going to get it out of the way because there's nothing spectacular or special, which I apologize to all the damn beer companies out there for our 25th anniversary that I'm not doing anything spectacular or nothing. But for this episode, I am drinking Sam's Choice Twist Up Lemon Lime Soda.
Nice.
Is what I'm going to be consuming. It's a crisp, bubbly, refreshing, settle your stomach drink that is not as good as Sprite, but better than 7-Up.
We have Sprite in the house.
PAystee?
We have Sprite in the house, but I'm drinking a good old-fashioned Coca-Cola. My favorite.
Coca-Cola.
My favorite. Used to be Dr. Pepper, and then I worked at Casey's for 2 years, and I got so sick of Dr. Pepper. I never thought it would happen. And then I became a Coke addict, and me and Coke have been together ever since.
Hey, 10 million worldwide can't be wrong, can they?
No, I don't think so.
After
we're done with the show, I might mix my Coke with some baking soda.
There you go. Cut it.
There you
go. Cut that shit. Make cola like this. Son of a bitch. I apologize. I hope we keep it up. I hope we keep ourselves like up, like going, like on. I want to be on for you tonight, folks. I feel like shit. I'm dripping sweat. Even though my central air is on, I'm just dripping sweat and shivering. And we're gonna do our best. We're gonna give you a show. You know what? This beef sticks, we haven't missed an episode. We lost an episode. I will say that.
Yeah.
We lost an episode.
Yeah, we did.
But we haven't missed an episode.
We gotta blame that on our fantastic producer for the week. It's totally Matt Gerke's fault. Give them their address so they can send him rotten eggs.
It is 740 Springfield.
There you go.
So, now that we've bitched enough about our own lies, going on than us. Hey, you know what? Fuck that. Because the exact same time I was sick, when I was just getting into the worst of it, the same day, my phone on me and my water heater. While I'm sitting here sick, shitting in the damn toilet 7 times in a day, not being able to eat.
Can't take a shower.
The damn water heater and... No, and I do that when I'm sick. I take like just long hot showers multiple times.
Especially when you're shitting so much you run out of toilet paper. Then you need to.
I just shit in the tub. Didn't we already go over this one time? I feel like, hey,
me, you, and Strata
it's
shitting in the tub eating steaks.
Memory.
There you go.
Yep, this is a callback to one of our episodes, folks. If you stuck with us for 25 episodes, you remember.
No, we have
that was a good time with us, Strat.
Oh, who we were. Fuck yeah. His ass needs to come back on the show again. We're going to try to sprinkle a few show memories. We're going to try to keep it in there. Let y'all, a few callbacks. I drink a lot during the show, so I don't have a ton of memories, but we're going to try to throw in a bunch of memories for you folks. Right. It would be great.
The ones that pay attention.
If we would have discussed the fact that we were going to do show memories, I might have actually went back and listened to some of the old footage. But since we do the show, I don't see a point in listening to it. Plus, I don't like getting fake listens. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, if you listen to it under our login, it doesn't count.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Good to know.
Because I like to check and see how our audio went, and sometimes try to because like the next day I'll be like, fuck, I remember something that was hilarious, but what was it? And I'll go back and try to find it. Skip around, baby.
So, speaking of strategy, I do just have to say I spoke to the man today, and we started tossing around the fact of potentially consolidating shows and saying goodbye to Stoned Out Sundays, and I'll just bring them on to get local MN, because I could use a co-host anyway. I can't come up with all the questions myself on the spot like that.
You know what? I think it's been a while since we've had a Stoned Out Sundays nonetheless, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
So you might as well, at least have one. It's better to have one real quality program than to have 2 that are suffering. Right. I think.
Right. And we had guests. We had rapper guests on Stoned Out Sundays anyway, so like, it was already kind of the same thing.
Yeah. And maybe as time goes, y'all can bring it back if you have more time in your life. If shit gets doing something different, you can always bring it back. You can always revive it.
Right. Throat lozenge.
I think that would be all right. I don't have a problem with that.
It's an idea. We're throwing around a lot of ideas right now. There's a lot of stuff that's still up in the air, and it's burning my gears. Or grinding them. Grinding them until they burn. Just gotta puzzle some stuff up, and we'll make it through. And we'll be better off for it. Holy shit. How have we done this 25 weeks, man? 25 weeks in a row.
Through dedication, my friend. Through dedication.
It's really easy when we have backers such as yourself. Especially the ones who make it a point to comment in the live streams every week.
Yeah, we appreciate all of you, the many, many of you.
It's so good. We feel the love. Oh. Boop. Yeah, dude. It's a hell of a week. I don't even know where to go. I'm like sunk inside myself. Have a hard time breathing. Still smoking, cause fuck you.
Hey, I guess, man. That's on you.
I can't help it. Being sick stresses me to the max.
That is on you.
So then I need a cigarette. And it doesn't help. But god damn it. I hate it.
I can hear it. I can hear it. I can almost feel it.
It's a lot better than it was. I had to call in sick to work on Tuesday because I coughed so hard I blacked out.
I still think that it's kind of ironic that between the two of us we got like the top and the bottom covered for just being sick as shit.
Well, we are one. We've been saying that for a while. We are one collective unit.
Or half is done.
Beef sticks tonight is just wiped the fuck out, folks. You can even see Fat Mack.
We're gonna get through it for y'all.
You can.
I look
see
like
him
shit.
And it's up.
That's a lie. I actually I always look good. I look really, really, really good tonight, to be honest. But y'all can't see that. I'm sweating. I'm glistening.
And then it was also brought to my attention. Oof. That next week will be our half-year anniversary. So we'll have to do something big for you guys next week, too.
Woo-woo! Half-anniversary.
Half-versary!
So, Loke, I wouldn't say we got a ton of stuff to talk about, but we got a bit of news.
Yeah, we should probably get trucking.
We've got a top 25 that we want to do.
Top 25.
We've got
we brought back the top lists, folks.
We want to talk about Raw and SmackDown.
I at least want to talk about SmackDown.
So yeah, we should. Yeah. I want to touch on the Mae Young Classic. Just touch on it. I'll touch on a few of them actually, but that's all right. So let's tell them what did we do for our top 25? I mean, I thought it was you came up with a great idea.
Yeah, I know. I'm so good at this, especially when it comes to lists. I'm like, yes, I want to do a fucking list. We're gonna do a list so hard. Oh yeah, that list. And so we're gonna do.
Dude, you do lists the way that Charlie Sheen does lines, man.
Right.
I tell you what.
Oh, man. Our list is the top 25 Chris Jericho wrestling moves. No. Top 25.
Yes. Number 1, armbar. Number
the
2.
top.
Sorry, I'll shut up.
It's okay. We're doing the top 25 Attitude Era wrestlers. WWE only, folks. We decided to keep it to a topic that was easy and simple enough for the both of us. I won't get lost in the fray. I should have at least a little bit to say about everybody on the list. That's good.
And you know what? It still ended up being a daunting task. I thought it was going to be hard to come up with 25. And then when I made my original list, I ended up having close to 40 on there. And I was like, oh, shit.
I feel like we as Beef Sticks should do, like, worst lists. I think we'd have a lot more fun with that.
I love doing worsts. But, you know, the thing with the Attitude Era is it was so influential. I think other than the heydays of the 80s, that was probably the thing in wrestling, especially if you're around our ages. I mean, we're both 25, nice young strapping lad. You know, if you were around our ages growing up, it was pivotal for in your viewing pleasure in your life. I don't know how many hundreds of dollars got dropped into pay-per-views alone.
Right, yeah.
A ridiculous amount.
Ridiculous. Sold out arenas. Like, you didn't have to hide the camera side. Nowadays, it's just sad.
Yeah.
So bad they moved the audio trucks into the arena.
Yeah, I'm getting a little off topic, but man, while I still have the numbers in my head, I believe it was only 7,000 people for Raw and only 4,000 paying seats in attendance.
Really?
It's insane. Because they always give some away, and there's always guests and this and that and that and this.
They gave away 3,000 seats?
Yes, even Mr. McMahon. No, I didn't say that.
I thought you said 7,000 people in attendance and only 4,000.
Raw had 7.
Oh, okay.
Raw had 7,000 in attendance. SmackDown only had 4,000 paid. I don't know the number for Raw that was paid, so that means it's even less than 7,000 paid tickets.
Right.
I apologize if my audio's gone, yo.
Yeah, no, it's kind of rough, but we'll see it through. We'll steer this ship through the storm. I got your back, homie. Yeah, man, the Attitude Era, I mean, nowadays, it's really easy for me to look back and say, oh my god, so overrated. But holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
It is like
but,
the
and we're not
golden age. Not the golden age, but the golden age. for household named superstars. Everybody on this list, almost everybody, could be at the top of the list. That's the Attitude Era.
Yeah, and we're not masters of the Attitude Era. It's more like who is the most influential, who do you associate with Attitude Era? You think Attitude Era, what names are in your mind? What matches are in your mind? What gimmicks are in your mind? And, we were talking about this beforehand. I personally give so much credit to Vince Russo because he was one everywhere he's went, whether it's WWE, WWF, I should say, WCW, TNA, everywhere he's went, he makes sure all the wrestlers are important and have a story. You look at wrestling now, especially in WWE, there's a lot of characters, and they're getting better at it recently, but there's still a lot of characters that just go out there just to wrestle.
Right.
Or they kind of have a story, but they don't really delve into it or do nothing about it. Vince really tried to well thought out story. Vince Russo, I should say. And that's why all of for us to cut it down to 25.
Yep, it spent a long time to cut it down. We had to get rid of a lot of names that I felt like added a lot of depth to the list. But that's not what it's about. It's about the top 25 Attitude Era wrestlers. And that's where we're at. 25 of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Of any age, really.
A good chunk of them, yes. A good chunk of them you can look back now and they're going to be in your top 25 wrestlers of all time. A good chunk. Not the whole thing.
Hey, that's what they used to call me in high school.
Whole thing. I'm not, definitely not.
No, a good chunk. You're hearing me really late, I'm pretty sure.
Probably am.
Yeah, especially when I was just quiet for 7 seconds before you responded with probably am.
God, that's a rough delay. We haven't had that bad of a delay.
No, this is terrible.
I don't know, man. I think it just knows this is a big show for us. I think it knows it's a big show because this is not good.
Oh, this is very rough. And we've both reset our internets. We've reset our computers. We don't have anything excess running. We don't have Fat Mack's video to make the show run more smoothly. Boy, it's a good thing we got another celebration next week.
Maybe we record that one ahead of time.
Right. Fuck.
Oh fuck. So, without further ado, let's start the list, Local. We'll go from 25 up to 1. Now, I'm going to say that my list has not updated since the final 5. So why don't you start off with the final 5, and I'll just throw some input in.
All right. At number 25, the greatest member of the Holly family, Crash Holly.
Crash.
My favorite. That's why he's there. I said, fuck Bob Holly.
Crash came along later and definitely didn't last as long, but I would say he made a bigger impact.
Oh, yeah.
Especially during the hardcore title days.
He was like the only one who had a character, so to say. I mean, Bob Holly was just Bob Holly, the pissed off dude, the hardcore champion. And albeit he was great, Crash was the one who had the fun.
Yeah, Molly got a lot of character later on after that during the Ruthless Aggression era, or maybe a little before. But when she had her superhero run with the Hurricane, I don't remember what her superhero name was, but
we can puzzle that one out.
Crash Holly. I think Holly deserves to be on the list for sure. And you can easily make the argument that Crash is more potential than the rest of them.
Yeah. No, Crash was...
Who else we got?
He was great. Oh, hang on. You keep talking about Crash.
He was a sparky little fucker. And you talk about sparky little fucker. Remember Bob Holly started out as Sparky Plug, the race car driver. And you want to talk about people starting out, Molly Holly, she actually started out as Miss Madness in WCW. She would accompany Macho Man to the ring with Medusa. It was Medusa, Miss Madness. Was it just them two, or did he have Gorgeous George at the time?
Oh, God. I don't even really remember.
Yeah, so she actually started out in WCW with Macho Man. Crash Holly, I don't know. You know, he's the only one I really don't know where he came from and where he went, to be honest.
Yeah.
You don't really hear a lot about Crash Holly on the indies or doing anything. I don't know what he ended up doing.
And he's definitely not training at headquarters or anything. Bob Holly still has a lot to do backstage, as far as I've heard. Maybe I'm wrong. I think if I'm wrong,
he might.
It's because Bob Holly has his own wrestling school. That sounds a little bit more like it. I don't know. I'm really good at spouting off bullshit. That sounds good. And I'm pretty sure it's the latter. I'm picking my nose here on the camera because my sinuses are all backed up. All this is wonderful. By the way, the Hurricane was in the team, the Superheroes, with a female superstar known as Rosie.
Rosie? Was that Molly Holly's name?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
That doesn't sound right at all.
Uh-huh.
God, that doesn't sound right at all. Where the fuck did she get Rosie from?
I don't... Shortly after Rosie...
Weird.
Wait, am I wrong?
I believe you.
Am I wrong? I could be wrong.
I don't know.
Stacy
Maybe I
Keibler was
Maybe
Super
she didn't have a
Stacy.
superhero gimmick.
Stacy Keibler was the... I don't know. Because I don't think Rosie was a female. Because Rosie's tag team partner was Jamal, originally. And Rosie was his superhero in training. I think I stumbled down the wrong path.
That could have been her. No, it was Mighty Molly.
There you
Mighty
go.
Molly
I'm stupid.
Molly
Yeah,
Holly
that's
was.
definitely right. There you go.
Mighty Molly.
Mighty Molly.
That sounds better than Rosie.
Yeah.
When I think of Rosie and Jamal, 3-minute warning. Who
Yeah, I guess after Jamal was fired from WWE, Rosie went on to be Hurricane's superhero in training.
Oh, it was that Rosie, huh?
Yep.
And then didn't he go on to be Umaga? Or am I making that up?
Did he?
Who did he go on to be? Umaga.
I don't know.
I think it was.
I think I closed.
Yeah, we're going way off topic with this.
It's really good.
I'm looking it up. Yeah, it was Umaga. Fairly certain.
Cool.
We're gonna say it was early life WWE.
Well, it's good to mention Molly Holly and Umaga because they did not make the list.
Right. We're spending more time on fucking Umaga and Molly Holly than Crash. Oh.
In
What's
spot
next on our
24, Gold Dust.
Gold Dust.
Man, I wish I could have let him be higher on the list, but I couldn't.
See, I agree.
Very influential for the Attitude Era. He was like cornerstone of what the Attitude Era was built around, really, if you think about it. He was that weird, perverse thing that you didn't know what it was, but you kind of liked it. Kind of like PAystee Whyt.
He twisted many a young child's mind.
Yeah. I believe the first homoerotic wrestler. I believe he broke grounds with the character.
He wasn't he was never homosexual.
No.
He was
androgynous.
At least androgynous, ambiguous, but not homosexual.
Right.
And even had a wife, Terry Runnels. Who was
I didn't say homosexual. I said homoerotic. That's different.
Isn't anyone homoerotic if a gay guy likes him?
I suppose.
I don't know.
Oh, that makes me feel really bad again.
I love the fact that he was...
Because we put Gold Dust on, but no Vito. You remember Vito?
Vito?
From the FBI?
No, I'm not. Oh, I remember Vito. He was...
Full-blooded Italians. And then he snapped and he started wearing a dress.
I know he was in WC...
He started wearing a dress and using it as his gimmick. And he'd kick everybody's ass because he'd distract them by flashing them. I think that must have been ruthless aggression.
That had to have been later in the Attitude Era or whatnot, because in ECW till the end, I believe he went to WCW after ECW. So maybe he came over after WCW went under. That's possible.
But yeah, I heard the full-blooded Italians from ECW, not really from WWF.
Yeah, see, I never watched ECW back in the day.
Good for you, PAystee.
I love Vito. He was a great character. Yeah. Everybody hated him, just like Chuck and Billy. That was a great gimmick, and I loved it. But that's a different list for a different time.
It was good until the very...
Yeah, no, the ending was really dumb.
Came out and said that it was all fake and just trying... That was a shitty ending of it. Yeah. One thing about Goldust I love is he took this gimmick that was really used to push him out or to piss him off or to humiliate him.
Because he hated his father.
Because it was Dusty's boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he ended up owning it to the point where later in the Attitude Era, probably the height of Goldust. This was before they changed him to the artist formerly known as Goldust, I believe. So this was actually, in the middle of the Attitude Era. He went to Vince, and he told Vince, that if Vince gave him, what was it, $50,000, he would get breast implants. And he was trying to pitch that to Vince. And Vince is the one that shut it down, if you can believe that.
That's
at least
funny.
by all accounts of the story. It's like, could you imagine? I bet you
That
he's
would've
glad
been some
that Vince
shit.
shot it down now.
Right. Holy fuck, that would have been some shit.
That would have been something.
Although
else.
Goldust kind of has his own tit now. Getting up there in age.
Well, yeah, but we all do, don't we?
Right. Not as fantastic as yours. But we all can't be that well endowed. Up
That's
next, at number 23, the queen of the McMahon family, Stephanie McMahon, who back then was just a little princess.
I was going to say, isn't she the princess of the McMahon family? Isn't Linda still the queen?
I don't think Linda's the queen. They didn't even bring her up. When Kevin Owens was roasting Shane McMahon, he didn't even say anything about his mother. Not a word.
That's true, he did.
So to me, Linda McMahon's out of the picture, but it's because of politics. And because the last time they tried to associate her with wrestling and politics, it blew up in their faces.
Yeah, pretty bad, actually.
I was watching a YouTube video where they said that was Vince McMahon's biggest money dump in history, was putting into her campaign.
It's got to be up there. I don't know if the XFL was bigger.
No, XFL was like down at 4 or 5. He had some much bigger blunders than that.
Wow.
Watch them YouTubes. Get
maybe
educated. I like falling down rabbit holes.
That could have been because him and NBC went in on it together, so that's possible. NBC did bite a chunk of that.
I wish it wouldn't have failed so hard, because I watched the entire thing. I did, and I enjoyed it.
You know, I don't know if it would have still been around today.
No.
But it definitely did good ratings. It didn't do Monday Night Football ratings, but for the NBC time slot, it did really good ratings.
But in order to get those ratings, you would have had to give it some time anyway. You can't just give it a year. Nobody's going to care the first 3 years even, really. Maybe by the third year. The third year might be it.
I think the problem they have there is that, you know, when Monday Night Football started, it was at the top of the ratings all the time. But when Monday Night Football started, it was also the 70s, and there was a lot less to choose from. And there was no other competitor.
Yeah.
But yeah, and their matches were good towards the end of the season, you know. The matches were good towards the end of the season. It was just the beginning was rough. They had some really bad starts.
They did things for me that the NFL never could have did in my younger years, and that was actually build up individual stars as a character. And I was actually able to follow individual people rather than teams even. And that was different for me than NFL, because today I still don't...
They influenced...
Yeah.
Look at how much they influenced the NFL, because they did things that the NFL is doing now and that the NFL arguably wouldn't be as big without doing. Interviews in the locker rooms and down at the stands never happened. The XFL was the first ones to do in the locker room interviews.
Yep.
That Sky Cam that they have
that's totally
in every
XFL.
NFL game now, that was XFL. They did that. And like you said, giving them personalities and traits and spending time on the individual, the XFL did that. And the NFL does a lot of that today. I don't think the NFL would be as big now if the XFL, well, that's arguable, but they definitely took XFL.
Oh, yeah. So that was our tip of the hat to Stephanie McMahon, folks.
There you go, Stephanie. The one thing I do want to say about her, I mean, she helped get Triple H over big time. She helped get Kurt Angle over big time. And she helped get her dad over big time between the Ministry of Darkness and Triple H drugging her and marrying her, and her and Triple H and Kurt Angle love triangle. All of those things, I think, were poignant parts of the Attitude Era.
Oh yeah.
We had a debate over her. Well, I guess this is a spoiler. We had a debate over her or Shane, and I fought to have Stephanie. Shane's big. Well, I don't even know if Shane's bigger in the long run. Stephanie, I suppose, was still bigger in the long run too.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. We can shout out Shane here because every other wrestler has had their honorable mention paired with them, so that works.
Right. And Shane has had much better matches than Stephanie McMahon.
Right. Yeah, no, Stephanie's never really had any good matches. But she did really good at getting kidnapped by The Undertaker.
At WrestleMania against Ronda Rousey.
I hope not.
Yeah. Probably. It's either her or Charlotte. I would love to see her and Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
I mean Rousey, not Stephanie. I would love to see Rousey Charlotte, but there's a good chance it's Rousey Stephanie.
It's such a stupid matchup. Stephanie has no chance of winning. None.
She wants that payday.
So then Triple H should not be allowed to wrestle at WrestleMania this year. Personal opinion. They're already bringing in enough to throw in the fucking thing.
Put McMahon in there. Vince. Let Vince have a match. Fuck the rest of them.
Yes. Vince versus Kevin Owens. Let this whole power struggle thing continue all the way through WrestleMania. Do it. Oh, please do it. That'd be so great. Kevin just kills Shane McMahon in the Hell in a Cell. Takes over the company, and it's a real power struggle. I would love that. Let's do that. That sounds delightful. That sounds better than any WrestleMania plan we've had so far.
It sounds all right. I get skeptical of having McMahon's on TV every week, but if you could hold off Vince McMahon being on TV a lot, I think it would be a great match. That's for sure.
Right. Well, in the moment and in the seriousness of time, number 22. The Acolyte Protection Agency. The APA. Farouk and Bradshaw. The Barroom Brawlers.
What was their slogan? Cashing checks and breaking necks?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I love having them on the list. I think they're both, Farouk, you could argue, even on his own would be on the list. He was the founder of the NOA, the Nation of
NOA, Nation of Domination.
And then he also had a big rivalry with The Rock afterwards.
Yep. Yep. Bradshaw, on the other hand, he would have to be in the Ruthless Aggression era.
He wasn't a big time player in before he was in the APA, but he was part of the new Blackjacks. It was Blackjack Wyndham, with Barry Windham, and Blackjack Bradshaw, which was JBL.
Nice.
It was a horrible gimmick, by the way. Horrible gimmick.
Unlike the ECW gimmick of the Black New Jacks.
Yeah, the Black New Jack is something else.
The Black New Jacks. It's plural.
These guys.
What you're forgetting to see here is Paul Heyman had a brilliant idea to clone New Jack 3 times, and they formed a stable, and that is what killed ECW, quite literally.
That would do it. That's for sure. Yeah. But who can forget the vignettes of these guys just drinking in a bar, or they'd be backstage playing poker, smoking cigars. Some random mid-carder would come up and ask protection from them. Always a heel. Always a heel.
Mm-hmm. No, I love the APA. The APA was brilliant. They were a great gimmick. They didn't even have to wrestle most of the time. Just seeing them backstage doing their shit
No.
That was great. And oh my God, back in South Minneapolis with my grandma, we used to roll around and garage sale. Hit a bunch of garage sales all weekend. It was dope. But like 8 blocks away from her house, there's an animal protection agency or something like that sign. And so every time we drove past the APA sign, I always chuckled to myself a little bit. And I think that is also what helped to cement them as one of my favorite teams, just because there was an actual sign. I'm like, ha 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 ha.
That's hilarious.
It was a good time.
There was also I don't remember what it was, but there was something at the old company I used to work in that you also worked in. That was APA, and I'd always get a chuckle out of it.
Right?
I can't remember what it is at this time now, though.
No, I remember that.
You know, when you were talking there, I even remembered,
You know, after Farouk was out of the Nation of Domination and Bradshaw was no longer blackjacking, but before they were the APA, they had a big part in the Attitude Era as the Acolytes, which were part of Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness.
Yes.
Acolytes, Viscera, and Midian.
It's probably part of the reason why all those guys are still so tight, you know? JBL and Undertaker especially.
Yeah, those two are very close. And Midian, they were friends with him before he got into that.
Yep.
Midian, if some of y'all don't know, was actually he was part of the Godwins. If you don't, they were like a hillbilly Jim type team. There was Henry O. Godwin, which was H-O-G, Hog, and there was Phineas I. Godwin, which was P-I-G, Pig. And Phineas Godwin actually was Midian. There you go.
Good people.
The Godwins was a
didn't
horrible
quite make the
gimmick.
list.
I know, we're getting them all in here anyways,
It's good.
we?
Right. We get the list maker, and then we get the equal honorable mention. I think that's fair.
And they all made such a big impact. They all worked with each other to make an impact.
Right. It's brilliant. I'm also making notes of our honorable mentions, so we can always call back to it at a later time.
What do we got next? We got to move this along. Holy
Yes,
shit.
we do. I'm good at this. I'm so good at this. Number 21. China. I mean...
I'd rather be in China.
I'll pass.
I mean, I wouldn't, but that was her catchphrase.
Nobody ever said that about her ever. Just, well, except for X-Pac.
Well, X-Pac, and Triple H. Don't forget, Triple H was banging her from the get-go.
That's so... How? Why? How?
Remember,
Why?
he cheated on her with Stephanie McMahon. He was still fucking China when he started seeing Stephanie McMahon.
Was he legit married to China at any point? Because that's what I grew up with the impression as. And older people were telling me this.
No,
okay.
They were just dating. No, they were dating. And then X-Pac really shortly after him and her broke up.
It would be so funny to watch X-Pac.
It's weird.
Just like Chihuahua banging her. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing and it isn't funny, because it isn't funny. I'm going to put that out there right now before we get so much shit from people. It's not funny, the act, okay? The thing happening is not funny. But it's so odd or awkward or something for you to imagine in your head that X-Pac used to beat the shit out of her. Like, literally, he got arrested a bunch of times for domestic abuse of her. How? That shows the power of men psychologically defeating a woman.
He definitely had to have some kind of psychological hold over her, because there's no way in hell he would beat her in a fight if she was putting up any kind of fight. No way.
No, not in a shoot fight. No way. You could argue that DX wouldn't have taken off as huge as it did without China.
Yeah, I'll give her that. I'll definitely give her that. China was definitely a pivotal point of X.
And you got to give Triple H. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you got to give Triple H credit for noticing her, and they wanted to give him a male bodyguard, and he's like, fuck that, give me a female bodyguard, I'll look more like a bitch. And that's great. That was great on his end to notice that.
Right. He wanted it to be the heel. He wanted it to be hated. It's what made people love him.
Yeah, hide behind a woman.
He wasn't cutting it as Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
No. Or Tara Rising.
There you go.
Or what was he? Jean Levesque. He was in WCW. Not Paul Levesque, but Jean Levesque.
There you go.
Or Jacques Levesque? He was something. Anyways. Yeah.
He was something.
She probably will get in. She will get into the WWE at Hall of Fame at some point, I think. But obviously, just the bridges that she burnt.
She didn't get into the Hall of Fame recently.
Still out there today, which is a poor argument. No, but considering how many people are in there that also have various sexual things out there,
right?
Come on,
right. I mean, Ric Flair's in there twice.
Right, and we've all seen him naked.
And we probably will again.
Than we want.
I'm still alive, motherfuckers!
More times than we want.
Lovely. I love it. We love it.
So
you love it.
So we've broke the top 21, right?
We're at number 20. Pimps and Hoes. The Hoe Train. Bring it on down to Funky Town with the Godfather.
This was every preteen and mid-teen's favorite wrestler.
It was so good. It was so good. I look back on it now and roll my eyes. That's just... Pimps aren't cool anymore. You know what I mean? I mean, they are.
Yeah.
But it's not the same.
You really know what a pimp is?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
But he was a master of the catchphrases.
Oh, yeah.
You know, roll a fatty for this pimp daddy. Come aboard the whole train. Pimpin' ain't easy. He was a master of the catchphrases.
Yeah. Dude. And it was great fucking character. It was great. And it got the women out there, and I mean, that's what 90% of the Attitude Era was all about.
You say that now, and I might argue that The Godfather wouldn't be as over if it wasn't for Jerry Lawler's commentary.
Yeah.
Puppies
and kitties. I love Attitude Era Jerry Lawler, and he should have been on this list. Oh. He was so good, and he's not good anymore. He's mediocre.
No, but he's also... He had free reign back then, and now he's got Vince in his ear 24/7 also.
And that can't be easy being as old as he is.
No. I do want to point this out. Personally, myself, I am a bigger fan of the character before The Godfather than I am of The Godfather, and I was super hurt when he went into the Hall of Fame that they didn't even mention it. They just called him The Godfather. I was very hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Because Papa Shango was a pretty big character. Not as big as The Godfather.
Who knows? Maybe Papa Shango will make it in at one point in time on his own.
Sure.
It could happen. I mean, the Bushwhackers were just inducted a few years ago.
Well, yeah, but the sheep herders aren't going to get inducted in a few years now.
They might.
That's like saying Scott Hall's going to get... Well, Scott Hall might get inducted, but only as a member of the NWO. They inducted Razor Ramon, not Scott Hall.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know. Yes, I could have come up with a better example, couldn't I have? I apologize.
It's all good. Man, we got a time crunch. We got about an hour to give you the rest of this list and all the news for the week. So let's get on with number 19.
Let's hit him.
Kane.
The Big Red Machine.
Yes, indeed.
Here he failed.
The devil's favorite
No, I'm just
demon.
kidding. You could argue Attitude Era Undertaker wouldn't be as big without Kane.
No,
Or
probably
not
not.
as big without Kane.
Yeah, they've always been. Kane's always been the yang to Undertaker's yin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
make a great team. They make better rivals. Great stories between the two of them. Kane is definitely a pivotal point of the Attitude Era. He brought that grit, that darkness, and let's face it, he would have never gotten very far as Isaac D. Yankum.
No. I still wish that Undertaker's final match would be against Kane. We know that's not going to happen, but I think that would be an awesome send-off.
It would be really good. I think Kane's last match should be against Undertaker, though, personally. But I honestly...
That's not going to happen either.
I don't think Kane's going to be back. I think he's going to win this election, all because of PAystee Whyt's support on the Beef Stick Podcast.
He could. I hope he does. But I hope to see him back also at some point. I want him to put a finale to his career.
Right.
Who do we got after Kane?
After Kane comes number 18. Oh, you didn't know? Yo ass better call somebody! The New Age Outlaws, motherfucker.
The D-O-double-G Road Dogg Jesse James, the badass Billy Gunn. You know, I'm going to say my favorite DX was Triple H, X-Pac, and the NOA.
Yep, very much. That was them at their rowdiest. That was them at their peak. The New Age Outlaws, man, great character players. They didn't have to be the top guys, you know, in the ring. They made more than made up with it, with their presence and their Road Dogg's prowess on the mic. It was a thing of beauty and a thing that's kind of been lost to the ages, you know. Enzo Amore tried to bring it back, and we're all like, quit saying the same shit over again, you bastard. He doesn't have that.
Well, I'm glad that Jesse James. I'm glad Jesse James is down at NXT Developmental, and he helps with promos. He helps with in-ring work also, but he helps with promos, and I think that's awesome.
He also helps backstage at WWE Raw.
He does. The biggest thing that sticks out for me with the New Age Outlaws was their battle with Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie when Terry Funk came in for a short while, and they had that street fight or anything goes fight or whatever. That was good.
I don't recall that at all. I don't recall Mankind's partner ever being, or Cactus Jack's partner ever being Chainsaw Charlie.
You don't remember him. It was Terry Funk. He had a chainsaw. They ended up throwing the New Age Outlaws in, I think that they threw the New Age Outlaws in a dumpster and threw them over the ramp. Somebody got thrown in the dumpster and over the ramp. I want to say it was the New Age Outlaws. That's what I think of always when I think of the New Age Outlaws. That's my biggest thing. That was at a WrestleMania, Loke.
Was it? Yeah, I don't know. I never saw it.
Yeah, was that WrestleMania 15 maybe?
Huh.
14? Maybe WrestleMania 14.
Maybe it was just
It's a
before
good match.
I came
Go and
in.
look it up on the
How
network.
far into the Attitude Era would you say that was?
You know what? That'd be maybe not.
I don't know.
Maybe that was before the Attitude Era. No, because they weren't teaming before then.
Right, right.
Not really. They were teaming a short while. I guess, you know what? I guess we should say, and this is a little late now, our criteria for Attitude Era, we're going by WWE's definition of Attitude Era.
Yes.
Which is the time between November 9th, 1997, which was Survivor Series 97, and the beginning of it, through May 6th, 2002, which is the day that WWE lost the legal rights to the WWF acronym and then changed their slogan to "Get the F Out."
Yes.
From Attitude. You could argue that it ended later than that, which would have been when John Cena actually crazed, but that was on June 27th, 2002, so that's like a month away.
Right.
So either way, it's really, you know, it's written that you'd say the Attitude Era died.
Yeah.
I might be thinking shortly before the Attitude Era, but it couldn't have been much before.
And honestly,
I don't know.
There's a good piece of me that really liked the Ruthless Aggression era. I know you didn't watch much of it, but I enjoyed it.
I didn't see much of it. I have gone back and watched certain matches and enjoyed those matches.
Man, people like Sean Stasiak and Heidenreich, just characters. They were the most ridiculous characters, but they were wonderful.
Stasiak started in WCW
as
the Natural Born Thrillers with Jindrak, O'Hare, above average Mike Sanders.
Oh.
That was also with I think Big Vito. I think that was with Big Vito also, because they had Big Vito, and then they had Reno, which was another Italian. He was Big Vito's rival from back in the day.
Nice.
Yeah. New Age Outlaws, rock on. What do we got?
Number 17. The one who ran away with my heart and gave me the boners. Tori Wilson. The wife of George Clooney. She was one of my favorites. I don't know. Everybody said Lita and Trish, and I'm like, nah. Tori.
Thinking of Stacy Keibler.
Oh, okay.
Stacy Keibler was with George Clooney.
Well, Tori Wilson was married to somebody famous, I remember, but I don't remember who exactly. And I don't want to look it up.
Mr. Wilson from the Dennis the Menace comics.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. So she was married to him the entire time she was wrestling?
She was. Mr. Wilson. No. Tori was definitely a poster on a lot of people's ceilings. A lot of young boys' ceilings.
She's married to Billy Kidman. Fun fact.
Yeah, they were. Are they married? They were together.
No.
Back in their
through
WCW
2008.
time.
Through 2008.
Well, that's still pretty long, because they were together during WCW, which would have been 96, 97.
Yeah.
God, that's long.
They were married from 2003 to 2008.
Just to be fair, I wouldn't put Billy Kidman on George Clooney's level, though, Loke.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I guess maybe I have my news wrong. It happens. Plus, this head cold, the brain doesn't decide to work so well. And so I'll say things, and I'll put my feet in my mouth, but I like to chew on my toes anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Woo, woo. Yeah, no, she was really good. She was great in the ring.
A-Rod.
She was beautiful. She was a classy lady.
And A-Rod's not quite George Clooney, but he's way bigger than Billy Kidman.
Yeah, yeah.
A-Rod of the New York Yankees.
Moving on up to the east side.
Yeah, she was in the top of the quote unquote hottest women. She was always in every bra and panties match, in every mud match, jello match. Not the best in-ring competitor, but I kind of lump her and Stacy Keibler together, and I could see where you mixed them up. They don't look alike at all, but they were very similar.
Right. They were the same, like, I don't know. They didn't look like your average women's wrestler. They looked more like models brought in, but they were still good at what they did. They were beautiful. They were powerful.
They were models brought in.
It was really good. It was really good. And Tori Wilson's one of my favorites and always will be. At least of that era.
You always gotta have one in the spank bank. What do we got next?
Okay. Bubba, get the tables. Number 16 is the Dudley Boys. Holy shit, this voice is killing me. Man, Team 3D, Devon, Bubba Ray, cornerstone of the tag team division. And when it comes to the tag team division, there's 3 teams that held it down and still stand head and shoulders above people today in their competitive level.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll get to those other 2 tag teams later. That's fun.
The Dudleys definitely, they brought something different. Now, what they brought different, they stole from Public Enemy.
Right.
But that's okay, because they did it better than Public Enemy. Just because Public Enemy was doing it doesn't mean that Public Enemy mastered it. And they didn't. They did not. They were extreme. They started the whole hardcore extreme sort of, you know, they're in the first tag team ladder match, and they're in the first TLC match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they definitely helped to change
the top WrestleMania matches of all time.
Yeah, definitely helped to change the face of wrestling as we knew it forever. They made the tag team division exciting, and that was it's proven. It's really hard to do.
It is, and back then, this couldn't happen on WWE TV now, but back in WWF days when they were there, their biggest thing was they were putting women through tables nonstop.
Oh, yeah.
They were 3D'ing them. They were power bombing them. Tori Wilson went through a table. Stacy Keibler went through a table. Linda McMahon went through a table. They were fucking it up.
Yeah, they were. Everybody's going through tables. Much better than the tame Dudley Boys we got this last time around. I mean, they weren't bad. They definitely weren't bad, but you can definitely tell they were more distinctive, defined, refined gentlemen.
Definitely. And you could argue that up until this point, the tag division was kind of overlooked.
Right.
Not kind of overlooked, definitely overlooked. It was an afterthought.
No, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the Dudley Boys were the revival of the Attitude Era. The group, the revival.
The revival?
Yeah. Dash and Dawson. Because they were aggressive. They were come out, beat your ass, put you through a table. They were pretty much on the same level as the revival is today, back in the Attitude Era.
I thought you meant like the Attitude Era was dying and they brought it back.
No.
Okay, I got you.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Makes a lot more sense. Yes, sir. I see that.
Number 15. He may have killed his family.
Sorry.
But he was still one of our favorites. The crippler crossface himself, Chris Benoit. And damn, what a good wrestler
Come on,
he
the
was.
Canadian crippler himself. Not the crippler crossface himself. That's his hold. No, yeah, you can't overlook what he did, and I don't want anybody to overlook what he did.
No.
But he was huge.
Right. Which kind of makes Chris Benoit the Michael Jackson of the wrestling world, if you really think about it.
Michael Jackson had never, ever been proven to do anything illegal.
Well, by the time Chris
let's
Benoit...
not put Chris Benoit and Michael Jackson anywhere. let's say even if Michael Jackson did what they accused him of, he is not as bad as Benoit.
Okay, fine. Some people would argue with you. I think many people might argue with you.
He's the something.
Molesting children, killing your family. I think killing your family is not as bad, but that's just me. I mean, you if you kill your family, you can't scar them for life. You know what I mean? They're just, that's it.
It depends on, but he's never even been accused. Yeah, but he's never been accused of even ripping children. At most, it was like sleeping with them in bed and cuddling them, right?
Okay. Right.
Like maybe inappropriate, but definitely not like fucking you're gonna grow up and be fucked for the rest of your life and have to go to therapy the rest of your life bad. It's like, well, okay, Michael cupped my balls a couple times. It's Michael.
Right. You're going to have your balls cupped by a doctor plenty of times in your life.
Damn right. Hey, you ever heard the song Chris Benoit?
Yes.
Awesome song.
The ICP song. It actually gets brought up in the cult of kayfabe, I'd say, once every 3 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome song. I mean, it's just a beautiful ballad of a descent into madness. The song is not praising Chris Benoit at all.
Not at all.
And it's not even about Chris Benoit either. It's about just a descent into madness.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I'm not into new ICP so much, but I loved it. And they have a music video for it. So if you don't want to listen to ICP, but you're okay with the YouTubes, check it out. Tell them Beefstick sent you. They'll throw a bottle of Faygo at your fat fucking face.
Yes, they will. Chris Benoit came in with the Radicals,
which was kind of a big deal because they were 4 of what could be the best wrestlers in WCW, but that WCW really was kind of holding down. They were all 4 kind of the Dolph Ziggler of WCW at the time.
Right.
And they left, and you had this huge talent coming in. They were almost like it was like NWO light, kinda.
Yeah.
Where this group of super talented WCW guys defected and went to WWE. And he had what amazing fucking matches between Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle, to name a few.
Oh yeah, the stuff he did with Eddie is just, oh, how can you strike him from the records with those matches? You know, they didn't even need a belt between them to have that electricity.
No, they didn't. Actually, and they won the titles on the same day, right? The same pay-per-view, WrestleMania. Yep. Chris Benoit beat, was it Triple H? And Eddie Guerrero beat JBL? Am I making that up, or?
No, that sounds right. It was Eddie definitely beat JBL because they had the big ass rivalry back then.
Yep. I want to say Benoit beat Triple H. I don't know, but yeah, they both won the title on the same night together. Big feel-good moment for 2 people that I know the term is used too often, but deserved it. Definitely workhorses.
Oh yeah.
You know, I never want to take anything away from what he did personally, but when you look at just his career, he's on here.
Oh yeah. He had to be. You guys had to know we were going to put him on here. There was no way we couldn't. We're not talking about the Attitude Era.
We don't steer away from controversy, motherfuckers. We embrace it.
We didn't make him number 1. That's okay.
No.
God,
we didn't make him number 1. Dwayne Gill got number 1. Oh shit! Spoiler.
Oh shit! Spoilers. Should we get on to the next one?
Let's go.
All right.
Let's go on to the next one.
Number 14. Val Venus. The man with the big penis. He treats your mom the meanest. And you should hear her scream it. The big Valboski himself. Val Venus. Hello, ladies. That was fun.
I love it. I love it.
Fun.
Choppy pee-pee.
Yes.
Why is that the big? That's the biggest thing I remember from his time in WWF. choppy pee-pee.
It was the greatest.
That's what it is.
It was the greatest.
I put him up there. Yeah, I put him up there with Godfather as just one of those people that epitomized what the pushing the envelope of the Attitude Era was.
Oh yeah, it was great, great, and he definitely was like the Big Lebowski of the WWE, 100% through and through, down to the fact he owns his own medicinal marijuana dispensary. Maybe not medicinal anymore, but he owns a dispensary.
It was Captain Chronic, or what was it?
That's what he went by.
Yeah.
What is the store called? The store was called something, and then he changed it to something else. The original name was better than the new name. I don't remember. Ironically, he didn't talk about smoking weed much as his character.
No, he didn't.
And he wasn't great in the ring, which is why this over-the-top character worked so well for him, I think. He was okay in the ring, but not great. And
you could argue him and Godfather both, I think, kind of had one-dimensional characters. And I think that's why they both ended up being in the RTC, the Right to Censor group, where they became basically PTC, which is the Parent Teacher Council, which was trying to tell WWE they couldn't have, all the violence and sex and everything and drugs on TV.
Yeah, Right to Censor. They were a very important point of the Attitude Era, too. Or were they the beginning of the Ruthless Aggression?
No, they were towards the mid-late Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Ivory was in there.
Mm-hmm. Ivory, Val Venus, Godfather, Stevie Richards. I think he started it.
And they were the best heels you could possibly have in the Attitude Era, because everybody wanted to see chicks in bikinis, and they wouldn't let it happen.
They all wanted to see hardcore matches and blood, and they wanted to see puppies, and
it was Vince's perfect way to pull the rope. Like, you guys are going a little too far, and it worked so well.
Yeah, it was, and it was, there wasn't a lot you could do with the Godfather and Val Venus. They were pretty one-dimensional characters, so this was a perfect way to keep their characters fresh. Now, after this, they both kind of fell apart. They weren't able to do anything else with their characters, but I mean, I give them credit for trying something, and it worked at the time.
By the way, Val Venus's dispensary under the name Captain Cannabis is Health for Life Dispensaries, which is pretty lame.
Yeah, it used to be something else, unless it just used to be called Captain Cannabis, maybe.
I haven't been able to find that one, so I'm giving up on that one, but I did get the current.
Go for it.
And it's in Phoenix, Arizona, so yes, it is a medicinal dispensary.
So let's move on from the big Valboski. I think this one's going to get us a lot of feedback from some people.
Yeah, displacement.
But I'm okay with it.
I'm very okay with it. It's, yeah, I'm definitely fine with it. Number 13. It's time to play the game with Triple H. That's right. Hunter Hearst Helmsley himself. Number 13 on our list. In theorem, he is the top of the bottom half. So he's still number one in his own right. And that's kind of what he always was his whole career.
That is exactly what he was his whole career, which is why I think he's here. He's always just been second fiddle.
Right.
or at least he's always needed help.
Yeah, he's always
never
needed
been
help.
A solo star.
He's always cheated to win. And when he wasn't good enough to keep competing, he fell into the corporate side of things, completely selling out his entire character throughout the Attitude Era. But no, Triple H definitely deserves to be on here, and I kind of wish he could be higher in the list, but he doesn't need it. He doesn't.
He doesn't need it. He damn near owns WWE, so, you know, fuck it.
Right.
But no, he was pivotal in creating D-Generation X, one half of the startup of that, or one third, you could say.
Yeah.
With
Shawn
with
Michaels
Rick Rude
and
being the third.
Rick Rude.
Rude.
I always forget about Rick Rude being in DX. I don't know how, but I do.
Because he was there for a cup of coffee, that's why. But you know, but as far as Attitude Era goes, he had some amazing matches with Cactus Jack and Mankind, and those two kind of built their careers around each other. Once Triple H wasn't with Shawn anymore, Mankind made Triple H, and Triple H made Mankind. I think they're parallel to each other.
Oh, very much so. Very, very much so. Triple H, I mean, he with DX, he totally steered Attitude Era in the direction it needed to go to bring down WCW. And I think you can give him almost single-handed credit for that. Or him as DX, as an entity, anyways.
And let's not forget, if we're talking about Attitude Era and influential, I guess this would bump him way up the list. And I didn't even think about this till we're talking about it now, but I'm still going to keep him where he is. But from a lot of accounts, not everybody's account, but from a lot of accounts, Triple H is the guy that actually made the suggestion to Shawn Michaels and Vince that they screw Brett over at Survivor Series 97. So in a way, Triple H kind of created the if that's
came
true,
from
which
the
I
mind
can
of the
see
cerebral assassin. I could see it. I could definitely believe that. And Vince got a hard on over it, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna fuck my daughter."
Yeah. He says that a lot different than he said that to Macho Man.
Right. You're gonna fuck my daughter. Oh man.
Damn. Fuck. We're busting in the controversy tonight.
I know.
Sick or not, we're doing the controversy. Woo.
We should always have a producer on the side, like trying to pull us back from these topics, and we can hit him with a chair. Guys, don't you think this is a little much? It'd be great. Some like balding Jewish dude with large glasses, very small and frail, doesn't drink anything except for tonic water. That's what we need.
Herschel.
Right.
His name is Herschel.
Herschel.
Hoyshel.
I love it.
Just call me Hoyshel.
Oh man. Number 12. Edge. Not even Edge and Christian. Just Edge. I love Edge. And although I feel like
we'll throw Christian as the honorable mention.
We should. We definitely should. Because I feel like Edge's main career as his own entity was Ruthless Aggression Era.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. Now that I think about it, when we look at it on paper, ENC is kind of they were bigger at this time, more influential.
Number 12, Edge and Christian. There, that's better. Fix that shit. Thank God there's a rewind button on live stream.
I'll edit that out. I'll just edit it out and post it. I'll edit it out.
That works for this. It doesn't really work for the video. I mean, it could, but I'm not going to do it. I rewound time live. I did that. I did that just now. That's fantastic. Had to do something spectacular for the spectacular.
So far, you and Missy Elliott. Yeah, you and Missy Elliott are the only two I've ever heard do that.
Oh, man. I want to do a music video where I superimpose my head on somebody who can dance his face. I'm going to. Yeah. Two of Missy Elliott beat. I've always wanted to rap to her beats. Maybe I'll do a whole mixtape.
Do it. A lot of her beats are JD Jermaine Dupri.
There you go.
He can fucking he lays down some tracks, man.
Oh yeah. No, she had I think some of the freshest beats.
Atlanta's my favorite of his.
So the honorable mention for the Edge and Christian section is Missy Elliott.
Missy Elliott. I actually already got that written in on my end at least.
That's great.
That's hilarious that we're on the same fucking thing. No, I mean there was the Dudleys. They were before the Dudleys. Actually, they were the first
Brood
of the three major tag teams. The three major tag teams that we have. Well, three that revolutionized. When you think of the TLC matches, when you think of who revolutionized them,
they were around the longest.
They were the first out of the three. Because they started, like you said, as the Brood with Gangrel, which I loved Gangrel. He wasn't a great wrestler, but he was a vampire.
Hey, he would have been on the list if we would have did the top 50.
He would have. Oh yeah, he would have. And you got to give the Brood credit for oh fuck, I'm gonna draw a blank on what the term was. They dropped blood on their on their opponents.
Yeah.
But they didn't call it blood. They called it was it Crimson Acidic Viscous or something or
oh god,
something fucking stupid like that. Some kind of acidic viscous. Something really stupid because they couldn't say blood with all the other shit they were doing. They couldn't say blood. But no, I loved the Brood, and the Brood started the kind of dark thing. Edge and Christian went on. Did Edge and Christian go on to be with Undertaker?
Yeah, they did.
I don't know.
They did for a little while.
I feel like they did.
Yep. Yes, they did.
Okay. But yeah, they were a pivotal part of. Again, you talk about the first tag team ladder match, the first TLC match. In fact, Edge and Christian won the first tag team ladder match with putting two ladders like you normally do, and then putting another ladder sideways, horizontal, if you will, on top and walking across, getting the titles. Yeah, as a scaffold.
Yeah, no, Edge and Christian, it was really hard for me to not fight for them to be the top tag team. But they're so good. They were a great tag team. The photo ops, everything they did, their entire career was entertaining. I'm not the biggest fan of Christian, but with Edge, you can't beat him. Great characters, great wrestlers. Wonderful. It was nice that they could be the silly guys.
Yeah,
because it worked for them.
Well, it's funny because they came in as the dark, serious, loathing guys.
Right.
And their progression into the comical guys was great. I mean, that was just beautiful. They worked with what they had, and they did best. And I got to stick up for Christian because I think Christian was actually a really good wrestler in his heavyweight champion, and I think WWF and WWE just kind of I don't know why.
They gave him the whiny bitch character, and I didn't like that.
Yeah, Yeah, when NWA TNA, he was Captain Charisma and he had his peeps. That's where his peeps started, and he was pretty good there. But yeah, no, they were both. I mean, they're staples of the Attitude Era. They were there, not from the beginning, but I'd say they came there at the height, and they lasted obviously throughout.
Oh yeah,
Into
and
the
beyond.
Ruthless Aggression Era.
Oh yeah,
and beyond, to infinity and beyond.
And they were still prevalent until recently. I mean, I'm so mad that they're not doing more Edge and Christian show that reeks of awesomeness, because it was great. It was good entertainment. I loved it. They even said both.
I thought it was one of the best shows they had.
Oh yeah, especially for an entertainment aspect show. Like, yeah, it was good. I liked their version of sketch comedy. I liked the way they were able to parody WWE wrestling. It was amazing, and I'm really sad if they don't bring it back.
And they're not. It's canceled.
Yeah, it could still come back again. It could. It probably won't.
It could.
It's probably because Vince.
I hope it does.
Vince is probably pissed because they got their own podcast. That's probably what it boils down to. He's like, you guys got your own show. You don't need one on my network.
Right.
I mean, you don't see Stone Cold doing interviews anymore on the WWE network.
No, but Xavier Woods still gets to have up, down, down.
Yeah.
Although now that's on the network, isn't it?
Yep.
WWE kind of just took control of it.
Yep.
They're like, you can do it, but we own it. Oh, speaking of that, do you watch Adam Ruins Everything?
No, but I haven't watched it recently because I don't have cable. But I did watch the clip you shared with New Day in it. Cow. Boy
you
rocks.
did see that? Yeah.
Cow.
That's awesome.
Boy rocks.
I was like, and I didn't know they were on there. I was watching it just because I wanted to watch it. And
it's a great show. I'm glad I turned you on.
The New Day's on here for no reason.
I'm really glad I turned you on.
It is a great show. I don't know that you turned me on to it, but it's a great show.
I did. When I was living in Redwood, I had cable. I said, dude, because you were talking about how great Impractical Jokers was, and how it's great that you can watch it all the time. Right. And then I told you about Adam Ruins Everything. I remember it clearly. You might not, but I.
Well, good for you, man. I'm happy you did. I don't remember it, but I believe you 100%. I know I got to it through Impractical Jokers, so that would make sense that you turned me on to it through that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, my friend.
How are you watching it now, might I ask? Or is this a better question for off the show?
Might be a better question off the show.
Right.
Because everything I do is legal.
Yes.
Number 11.
Number 11. Latino Heat. Viva la raza, Holmes. It's Eddie Guerrero. God, I love Eddie Guerrero.
Lie, cheat, and steal, baby.
Oh. Eddie and Chavo even. Chavo's definitely not one of my favorites, and definitely wouldn't make this list in any way, shape, or form. But they were fun together. Eddie Guerrero.
No, Chavo's not on my list.
Right. Eddie Guerrero almost was much further up the list than this, too, in my book, at least.
Yeah, it could be argued easily. It's just so, there's just so many to choose from. It's so hard. It's always going to be sad to me that he died here in Minnesota.
Yep. Heartbreaking.
You know, it is. And, you know, he's one of the few, you can argue, past drug use caught up to him, but he's one of the few that he didn't die due to drug overdose at that time. He died due to a heart attack. Again, you could argue that drugs led up to that, but it was just it was sad. But his talent, and he's one of them. I mean, you go back as far as ECW,
watch him in ECW.
Right.
Fucking stole the show every time he was on there. WCW stole the show every time he was on there. And he wasn't like your Chris Benoit's or your Dean Malenko's. He could talk.
Oh,
He
yeah.
could talk. He had charisma.
Machismo.
Machismo. Mamacita. And he gave us probably our best worst general manager ever in Vicky Guerrero.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I loved her because I hated her so much, but in all the right ways.
She was so annoying.
And I love when she's on.
Like, I found myself literally loathing her. Like, oh my God. I hated her so bad. But I guess that does make her really, really great. She was a perfect opposite of Teddy Long.
Right? Yeah, she was. And I looked forward to seeing her. I did, honestly.
I never did.
But Eddie, I mean, you got to look at Eddie Guerrero. Well, as you mentioned, and then I mentioned, if nothing else, he gave a career to Chavo Jr. and to Vicky Guerrero. So they both got careers from this guy. You know, he helped when in the infancy, when they were first starting back in, probably before ECW and everything, but during the ECW days and all of that, he helped Chris Jericho come up. Him and Chris Jericho worked together, and they both came up together. He was one of the Tiger Masks over in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Holy shit!
Way back in the day. Tiger Mask is a huge honor. Is a very well respected character, and he was one of the Tiger Masks back then. So that alone is huge.
You know, and the funny thing
just
to
let
me,
anybody come in and throw a fucking mask on.
Yeah, the funny thing to me is, back in those days, I was looking at Rey Mysterio and hearing the stories of how far he's come, and I was like, holy shit, I can't believe he's been around that long. And I never really contemplated Eddie Guerrero until, you know, at least 10, 15 years later.
Right. Back in the 90s, when he first got into WCW, and I'd watch him in ECW, but when he first got into WCW, I started finding tapes that I would order from New Japan, because I found out through the dirt sheets, through the magazines, what have you, that he was Tiger Mask, and I found a lot of good matches, and I wish I had some of those old tapes yet, but of course it's all on YouTube now. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But I was watching him as Tiger Mask as a kid. Now, of course, I guess we're getting into a lot of not Attitude Era. Attitude Era, he brought in, like you said, the Latino Heat. He brought in the Lowrider. He did the shake my boobies thing, even though he didn't have boobies. I never really understood that one. Epic rivalries and partnerships. Like we talked about him winning the title from JBL. And just an amazing bloody match.
Oh yeah. They had the greatest rivalry. I swear to God. That was magic on both men's parts. And JBL, much like Vicky Guerrero, had my legitimate hate. Every part of me couldn't stand him. But now I look back and he's like an old friend, like one of my favorites. But he played a perfect heel, a perfect foil for Eddie Guerrero. It was just beautiful rivalry those two had.
JBL character was in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was. He helped shape this you talk about Bret Hart and then Shawn Michaels. Well, first you go back and you talk about Macho Man. Macho Man started the smaller guy. Then Bret Hart started the smaller guy than that. And then you went down there, and all of a sudden, these guys were coming in, the Chris Benoit's, the Eddie Guerreros, and some that we're going to get to yet. And they, carried on that legacy where if we didn't have this era, we might not have the...
Right.
main event, and the Bobby Roodes and with the Austin Arieses, and we maybe wouldn't.
Yeah, no, and they could move like none other. Back in the times when everybody had to be 6 foot tall, 250, 275, 300 pounds, you know, Eddie Guerrero was definitely one who will shine. He will shine as a bright star throughout the ages, and he deserves all the respect in the world. You know, and I was actually going to take my little brother out to. I was actually going to take my little brother out to the Mall of America to get his autograph, Rey Mysterio's autograph, and John Cena's autograph the next day. But the night before is the night he passed away in Minneapolis. So I ended up not going at all because, God, I was heartbroken.
Yeah, we all were. And with that, number 10. Hey, we're in the top 10, and it only took fucking 7 hours.
And we've only got 25 minutes left. Number 10.
All right, let's kick it in.
Chris Jericho.
Break the walls down!
Break down the walls! I love that song. I love that song back in the day. I had that song burned on so many CDs.
Right? It's a good song.
It is. It's a fucking great tune.
He was that entrance when he came in and interrupted The Rock, and they were selling this.
Mm-hmm. The timer had been going on for a long time. Weeks and weeks.
It might have been weeks. It might have just been weeks. It felt like months.
I think it actually might have been for better than a month. Probably not 2 months,
it
but better than a month.
Been. And he came down and he interrupted The Rock, which is career suicide. And I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about going toe-to-toe with him on the mic.
Right.
It's career suicide. And Jericho just fucking held his own.
Yeah.
That's one of those epic Attitude Era moments. That's on an Attitude Era moment DVD or highlights, you know?
Right. Go watch the collection on the WWE Network. It'll be there for sure. For sure.
If it isn't, they're fucking up.
And without that clock, I highly doubt Chris Jericho's debut would have been so highly anticipated. Because he did come from WCW where he was just a cruiserweight. And they didn't get the respect or anything they had deserved.
He was a mid-carder at that time. I wouldn't call him. I mean, he was a cruiserweight, but he was a mid-carder at that point. Yeah. He was going for like the U.S. title and the TV title. He actually went really quickly in WCW. He went from being brand new cruiserweight to being in the U.S. and TV title, and then when he got oh my gosh, I'm gonna space on his name. Ralphus, head of security. I mean, they gave this guy good storylines, but he was never going to be a big-time player.
Yeah, and that's all he wanted.
And remember, he was only the second WCW guy to go over to WWE at that time.
Yeah, I can't imagine that would have been very easy to get through the locker room.
In WCW. And yeah, you just don't happen. You know, he could be nothing. He could be less in WWE, possibly. The Giant going to WWE, the Giant's going to be big wherever he goes because he's big.
Right.
Chris Jericho going to WWE, fucking who knows? It was a big crapshoot.
And they rolled right, man. They definitely did.
Fuck yeah! They got 7 and 11, motherfucker. I don't know how to play craps. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I think 7 and 11 are good. I
know the casinos in Minnesota do dice. It's kind of depressing.
No dice.
New Das.
Yeah, but Charles Bronson loves it.
Right.
Nice. Chris Jericho kind of epitomes later Attitude Era. This wasn't beginning Attitude Era.
Yeah.
This was like the latter half of Attitude Era that was going to form WWE going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I feel Jericho.
He was a pivotal cornerstone, and he managed to keep himself up and elevated in the upper main event for years through the rest of the Attitude Era.
Undisputed world fucking champion.
Right. Through the Ruthless Aggression era, and even today, Chris Jericho, and he's at his finest now than he has ever been.
Yeah, if this was an all eras list, Jericho's being higher. Well, I guess there's a lot of other people you take into account. If this was an all eras list and we're only looking at these 25, Jericho's way higher.
Yeah,
because he's done so much with his career. He was in. I mean, as I mentioned, he came in halfway through the Attitude Era, so he only had half the time to make an impact. So, but he cracks the top 10 for just that reason. He was that fucking great. I mean, right, like I said, the first Universal Champion. He beat Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock in the same fucking night. Not a lot of people beat them in the whole Attitude Era.
It's Daniel Bryan-ish of him. That's great.
It was very Daniel Bryan-ish of him.
And they're both called the GOAT.
I mean, that's huge. They are for different reasons.
There we go.
Yeah, they're very goatish, both of them.
Very much so. And I think Chris Jericho, honestly, was called the GOAT in the first place because of his damn chin beard. Because he looked like a fucking goat. And then he's like, oh yeah, I'm the greatest of all time.
I think it was just because he was a huge fan of Goat Whore.
There you go.
Which is actually right up his alley for music. He might be a big Goat Whore fan. I don't know.
Yeah, we have to mention that while we're here, too. Not only has he had an outstanding wrestling career throughout the ages, but he has a rock band that is now being played on national radio. I mean, it's been a long journey for them.
Yeah, he has a mediocre rock band.
They have some pretty damn good songs, and I'm really looking forward to this new album release if it ever comes out. I mean, who doesn't like Judas? Judas is a good fucking song.
Judas, I guess it's just not my music. And not only that, but like when it first came out, his podcast, every episode he started with Judas.
Right, the
whole
like song.
10 episodes in a row. Yeah, the whole song. And it's not my music. It's my niece's type of music. It's my sister's type of music. It's not my type of music.
I mean, they have a very wide array of sounds.
And I didn't think it was great.
They have like they have a lot of like 80s style, like or Bon Jovi type music. They have like some emotional ballads, but I think they're best off when they're kind of, you know, in their modern rock kind of mode. I don't love them. I don't hate them. I definitely respect them, and I definitely respect Chris Jericho. You know, he's one of the Attitude Era boys who didn't get out and go to movies. He went to music, and that automatically plays to my heart.
Right. Oh, I respect him. I respect the group. I respect the fact that he does a busy part-time wrestling schedule as well as a busy part-time music touring schedule.
With the podcast all at the same time.
Yeah, with the podcast. And Southpaw. Don't forget Southpaw.
Yeah.
So I give it to him. I think it's time to move on.
All right. Up next is number 9. Here comes the milk truck. It's Kurt Angle, Jimmy Crackcorn, and I don't care.
I care. I care a lot about Jimmy cracking his corn. Because where I come from, you just don't crack your fucking corn. You cream it. You don't crack it, you cream it. You don't crack it, you cream it. But that's just where I come from. People come from different.
I actually do. So many people don't like creamed corn.
It's a texture thing for a lot of people.
I think so. I don't get on textures. I just go by taste.
Right, and it tastes way better than corn. I'd say the only thing I like better than cream corn is corn on the cob.
I like corn on the cob.
I like corn in my shit, too. It's always fun to look at the next day. Me and my daughter were talking about corny poops recently.
That's an odd conversation to have.
The only person today that gets chanted, "You suck," but it really means, "We love you."
There's one other person.
What do you think, Cena?
Yeah, I think at very least 50% of the people that chant Cena sucks does it to chant it, but they enjoy having him there.
I think so. Yeah, you're probably right. But not Roman Reigns. Maybe. I do think that the tide's turning for Roman Reigns there too, because people enjoy watching him. You can't deny that.
I'd say up until he started this feud with Cena, and I think Cena's just he's looked horrible.
Yeah.
Whoever's idea it was to put him against Cena.
Don't put him up. Do not put him up against a guy on a mic ever. Don't do it.
No.
Do you think he begged and pleaded backstage? Please don't give me a microphone.
I bet you he did the opposite. I bet he begged and pleaded to go toe-to-toe with Cena.
Because he's just got that chip on his shoulder, and that's a real thing.
I'll bet. So Kurt Angle, I'm gonna go back a little bit.
Do it. I gotta grab some water. I will be right back.
Water it up, my friend. And we're going to go back to ECW. Yes, Kurt Angle first was either approached by or approached Paul Heyman. And this was during ECW. And he had he had agreed. They hadn't signed anything, but he agreed to work for ECW. He was going to be a wrestler in ECW. That's where he was going to wrestle. Paul Heyman brought him in and had him watch a show and, schmaz him and all that. Paul Heyman knows how to talk, so that was his thing. Bring him in, talk, sell his product. Well, that night, Paul Heyman, folks, to give you some backstory, was pretty lenient and free with his talent. He let them do a lot, especially the bigger time players. So at this time, oh gosh, I'm going to space off on who it was that did it. Anyways, Sandman was having a feud. For those of you who don't know Sandman, he was Stone Cold Steve Austin before Stone Cold Steve Austin was. Stone Cold literally took a lot of his gimmick from the Sandman. Mm-hmm. But Stone Cold's a better wrestler than Sandman. I'll say that. Not by a lot, because Stone Cold isn't a technical wizard, but better. Yeah. And a better talker than Sandman. Anyways, why can't I remember who Sandman was feuding with? I want to say Tommy Dreamer, but this wasn't Tom. Raven. Sandman and Raven were feuding. And Raven, while Kurt Angle is here watching this show, it happened to be the night that they decided they were going to crucify the Sandman. And they literally put him up on a cross. Now, this was when they were on TV and TNN. And they got so much shit from fans, from advertisers, from the network, and Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle allegedly literally cussed out Paul Heyman and walked out and said he'd never fucking work for that company. So that brought him to WWE, where they've done just as bad, but not the day that he came to visit.
Right.
So we almost didn't get Kurt Angle in WWE, because who knows what would have happened if he went to ECW. One would like to think he'd do something there, and then he would have went over to WWE later, but we don't know.
His career would have been much shorter. I guarantee you that.
It would have.
He already took neck trauma in WWE. It would have happened much sooner in ECW, and by the time he got to WWE, he wouldn't have had the same presence.
You don't know because people get this, and you just admitted yourself you didn't really watch ECW back then. People get the stigma that ECW was like hardcore matches, and it just wasn't. When you watched Rey Mysterio, when you watched Eddie Guerrero, when you watched Chris Benoit, when you watched a lot of these guys, they did not do hardcore shit at all. They did really good technical wrestling. Dean Malenko came from there. So many great technical wrestlers came there and didn't do hardcore shit at all. And one could imagine, Kurt Angle is gung-ho enough that Paul probably would have talked him into some hardcore shit.
Yeah.
But I don't think that would have been his gimmick. I think putting on technical masterpieces would have been his gimmick. But now that I've put over ECW, let's talk about Kurt Angle in WWE.
What a great
first
character.
ever. He is. What a hard thing to transfer from amateur wrestling to pro wrestling, honestly. And he did it fluidly.
I love
and
his gimmick.
And he was more than
his in-ring prowess. You know, he was definitely one of the top guys. And he was always shit on by everybody else. He was the Jerry of the Attitude Era.
Right? And he so quickly adapted to that goofy persona.
Mm-hmm.
Which you wouldn't think an amateur gold medal fucking Olympic winning fucking broken neck fucker would.
Right.
I know I said that in the wrong order, but I said it.
That's all that matters. You can edit that later. You can just cut it and slice
we'll
it.
edit it in post. I mean, he so much embraced the goofiness, and I've heard him on podcasts, and I've heard other people talk about it, and it seems like not only was he all for it, but he kind of encouraged it. Like he was like, "Hey, let's do, we could do this something goofy, but let's one up it and do this."
Give me a little cowboy hat.
Yeah, right. Right?
They had got him a really big, nice cowboy hat, and he's like, "No, I want the little one."
You're going to shave my head, but then I'm going to get a horrible looking wig. And I'm going to wear it on my head with the fucking ear guards. I mean, he was born to be a pro wrestler.
He was.
Yeah.
I thank God we had him.
And, I'm honestly right now, I'm having a hard time thinking of a lot of Attitude Era moments with him. Taz coming in is one that I think of. Wait a second. Am I making this up? Was he undefeated until Taz came in? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Kurt Angle was undefeated until Taz came in, and Taz whooped the fuck out of him, which put Taz over hard, which is good because I love Taz, one of my favorite wrestlers. He could have easily been on here, but he didn't make that big of an impact in the Attitude Era.
Honestly, I like Taz better as a commentator than a wrestler.
Great commentator. I loved him as a wrestler, but I loved him as a wrestler in ECW.
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Angle, obviously his biggest stuff happened later on after the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, his biggest stuff arguably happened in TNA. He spent more time in TNA than he did in WWE. And had some amazing matches there with the likes of AJ Styles, with the likes of Sting, with the likes of Kevin Nash, with the likes of Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe. Basically a who's who of wrestling. Kurt Angle wrestled in TNA. Your Bobby Roodes and whatnot, James Storms. But he was a pivotal point because he gave them legitimacy when everybody else had basically called them a circus. They were no longer really a wrestling company, and this gave them legitimacy. They had an Olympic gold medal winning wrestler. Fucking phenomenal. And the shit he did with Edge and Christian, and the shit he did with Stone Cold Steve Austin, just great.
And let's talk about his WWE Hall of Fame acceptance speech, shall we?
Let's not. Let's
It
not.
sums up his whole career.
But I will say him and Chris Benoit had great matches together. Him and Eddie Guerrero had great matches together. Him and Brock Lesnar had great matches together. And those were all in the Attitude Era, or at least very close to the end of it, if nothing else.
Yeah. I do find it's funny that though his WWE Hall of Fame acceptance speech was all of his old comedy gimmicks.
All gimmicks.
And he hasn't done anything silly since he became Raw's general manager.
Right? Ain't that the truth?
Like, you would expect, like, somebody comes to talk to him backstage and he's got his little hat on and his guitar. But nope.
Okay, so I'm gonna put this out here for you,
We got
Pasty.
We got
We're either going 2.5 hours or we're really hurrying up because we're already at 2 hours right now.
I know, right? So let's just hit it into 12th gear. Number 8.
Right.
Sable.
Real turbulent juice. Hands on the tits, man. When she came out with no bikini and just fucking finger paint all over her tits, that is, again, an Attitude Era fucking moment right there. She started the slutty part of the Attitude Era. She started the I'm not talented, but I'm going to show off my TNA. And that was a huge part of the Attitude Era, whether it was a good part or not. It was a huge part.
Yes.
All right, let's go to what do you got to say on her? Let's each just say something quick about everything.
She was nice and slutty and not a very good wrestler, and now she's married to Brock Lesnar. So that worked out for her in the end. She gets some of that paycheck. All right, number 7, Team Extreme. That's the Hardy Boys and Lita.
This is when they were over before they were broken. Holy shit.
Yes.
Again, we kind of touched on it with Edge and Christian and the Dudley Boys. Yeah,
they're the Triforce.
I mean, they revitalized fucking tag team wrestling, and not only in WWE but probably in pro wrestling at the time.
Oh yeah. And they did it again when they got broken. I mean,
fuck yeah, they did. I mean, they're still revitalizing.
They know how to survive. They definitely know how to survive. And I believe they'll be wrestling long past the Dudley Boys. They've already surpassed Edge and Christian.
Oh yeah.
They'll
and I'm going to make it quick, but I want to say some of the biggest highlights when you look at a highlight reel from the Attitude Eras, Jeff Hardy has many, many highlights.
Oh, yeah.
I am a bigger Matt Hardy fan, and I say this from the fucking 90s for all you broken fucking bandwagoners.
Hey, me too. Me too.
From the 90s, I was a bigger Matt Hardy fan because he was the wrestler.
Yeah.
He could wrestle. Jeff Hardy does the extreme shit. Matt Hardy put on a good match in the ring.
And honestly, the way they were pushed gimmick-wise and on a mic and things, which wasn't much, but Matt was always like the leader, you know? Jeff was the more talented high flyer, but Matt was always the leader. And Matt's always been my favorite. Even as Mattitude version 1 with his little MF or Shannon Moore.
Definitely.
Number 6. Shawn Michaels.
Jonathan Michaels, folks.
I love this man. You don't love this man so much. And I was willing to negotiate him further down in the list, but you wouldn't let me, surprisingly.
I wouldn't, because I respect what he's done. I did fight for him to stay higher up the list, because he deserves it for the Attitude Era. Definitely. DX, he was kind of the creator of DX.
Yes.
We would not have the Attitude Era as we know it.
We wouldn't have had Triple H as we know him. He mentored Paul into Triple H.
Truly.
I definitely think you have to give credit to that to Shawn Michaels.
endured Paul and X-Pac, you could say. I'd say all three of them did. Nash, I'd say Nash, Scott, and Shawn all did, but Shawn was able to keep mentoring Paul while they were there after the other three left. Definitely.
Yes. Love Shawn
Which
Michaels.
that alone also, again, huge influence. And again, he was the one who did the Montreal screw job. That shine to it. So you got that on there also. You got them coming out in thongs during Christmas. You got them coming out with windshield wipers on when they're talking to Sergeant Slaughter because he's spitting so much. You had the gimmick where they went on the air.
How about when they took the tank to WCW? Yeah.
Yeah. Legitimately, man. This guy could arguably be higher on the list.
Yeah.
But there's other people I think just made a bigger impact, but you could easily argue he deserves to be higher on the list.
I do think it's funny that Dolph Ziggler was the last KFC colonel, and now Shawn Michaels is the new KFC colonel. Because everybody always compares Dolph Ziggler to Shawn Michaels. It's funny to me.
Right? Yeah, I thought that was funny when he was trying to say Miz stole his gimmick from people, and I don't see it. I don't see him doing the Ric Flair gimmick.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the other guy he said. Who else did he say? Anyways, I don't remember him doing their gimmicks, or I don't think of him doing their gimmicks. But I definitely think of Dolph stealing Shawn's gimmicks. So,
yeah.
Come on, Dolph. The other thing with Shawn that I want to say is
I do think Miz's arrogance is kind of akin to Ric Flair.
I don't want him any lower.
I can see Miz in a Ric Flair light because of the arrogance. But that's about it.
Or every wrestling heel ever, I guess. A Rick Rude, a Kurt Hennig. Yeah. I mean, you could say that, but that's pretty thin.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels, I don't like how much he held other people backstage. And we arguably could have had different or even better wrestlers and storylines in the Attitude Era if it wasn't for Shawn being a prima donna and just being a whiny bitch.
Every era has one.
Oh yeah, Hulk Hogan was the same one. But Shawn Michaels didn't bring in Hulk Hogan money. We could argue that.
Right.
But yeah, he shut down a lot of matches, people. So backstage, I don't respect him. On the stage, I respect him. I don't put him as high as some people do, but I do. I definitely respect him. Number 5. We'll do it quickly.
Number 5. Part A, B, and C. Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, and Mankind. And Dude Love. Part D. The 3 Faces of 4 Foleys.
Yeah, you didn't have to put
Justin Roiland.
Go ahead, sure. Fuck. Right? It was very
The 3 Faces of 4 Foleys. I like it a lot.
Yeah,
I mean,
Mankind.
He did so much. He didn't achieve everything. He won the championship, but his point was to elevate the people who really needed it, and he did a great job at that.
And well, again, we talked about Triple H. I mean, he basically made Triple H. Between him and Shawn Michaels, they made Triple H. Now, one of the biggest releases. Any of you remember many moons ago, for how was it, 13 weeks straight, WCW beat WWE. Maybe 17 weeks straight. Anyways,
17.
The first time WWF finally beat WCW again was the night that Mick Foley won the World Championship for the first time. That was the night that Tony Schiavone gave away the ending of Mick Foley winning the title on WCW programming. And everybody was like, oh, fuck, I'd rather watch Mick Foley. I'd rather watch Mankind. I'd rather watch Cactus Jack than to watch what's on this highest fucking rated show.
Right.
He literally caused the WWF to pull ahead. He did that. That was him with Tony Schiavone's help.
Right. Yeah.
And you know what? And
who
Go
else
ahead.
could pull off 3 gimmicks, you know? And everybody was with it. Nobody else could do that.
3 gimmicks at one time.
Right.
At
Oh,
one time.
I love that when he's interviewing himself. That's great.
Yeah, for Stone Cold Steve Austin's partner.
Yep.
Stone Cold said he'd never team with Mankind.
And then
He
you
said
also
he'd never team with Mankind.
And then you also have the Rock and Sock connection. I mean, how iconic.
And if we're going to talk about the sock, the creation of Socko when Vince McMahon's in the hospital.
Yep. Oh boy.
With the he brings in the balloon animals. Yeah. Yep, the Rock This Is Your Life segment.
Yes. The one that was so
Definitely one of the
horribly
highest
tried
rated
to be
segments in
duplicated
history.
this past year.
Yeah, no, it didn't work. But that was one of the highest rated segments in history
Oh,
of
yeah.
WWF to this day.
And I mean,
And who
God,
can forget
the
boiler
I Quit
room
match.
brawls?
The Rock and Mankind
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
I
with
Quit
The
match. Oh, with the pre-recorded
Yep.
screams.
The
I love
empty
it.
arena match.
Yep.
They had an empty arena match that was so hardcore. The Hell in a Cell with Undertaker.
Oh,
That
yeah.
might be the fucking moment in WWF.
Oh, yeah,
it's
for sure.
that, or it's Hogan body slamming Andre, or I mean, there might be one or two other things, but that is one of the moments of WWF.
For me personally, that is my moment.
You have
That
it.
is the moment, yes.
That was a shitty match.
Well, he fell off
Not
the
many
top.
wrestlers end up with a tooth in their nose. Like,
Right.
I wish we had more time to talk about him, and maybe later on, maybe one day we'll just take some time and just fucking jack off over Mick Foley while we're on the air.
We can
But
do
let's
that.
move on to arguably Undertaker's or Mick Foley's greatest foe, and arguably the greatest foe of the next guy who I didn't just.
Number 4. The Undertaker. You fucking spoiler.
Hey, he was there before the Attitude Era. He was there after it. God, the Godfather of WWF, man.
Right, yes. The man to really steer the ship even backstage. Keep everybody in line. Keep the peace, keep the order. He really took the weight of the WWE and carried it on his back better than anybody else, in my opinion. He made this company
He did.
him, and he would never break kayfabe when the public was around. I mean, that is dedication
He still
that you
hasn't.
will never see again. That's not true. He wasn't the
let's be
Undertaker in the
honest.
picture of him on the plane on the way to SummerSlam.
Let's be honest. He took one of the I wouldn't say the worst gimmicks, but one of those, like I said, a one-dimensional gimmick. Like I said, Godfather or Val Venus.
There's some gimmick that you can only do so much with, and it's just dead. It's
Right.
not going to go that far. It's not going to last that long.
The Undertaker's gimmick is that gimmick. It's not going to go far. It's not going to last long.
No.
And we say that
An
fucking 20 years
Undertaker
later
is
now.
a cemetery groundskeeper. That's not a very badass
Yeah.
gimmick initially, but the way he twisted it and turned it and made it exactly what he wanted it to be was just a thing of beauty.
And yes, let's be honest. At the beginning,
He had a lot of help from Paul Bearer. He had a lot of help from the WWE machine. If you go back and look at his early matches, he doesn't have any great matches. He did not even start having great matches, I would argue, until well after the Attitude Era.
Oh, yeah.
Well after. But he had a presence. He had an aura. He didn't have to have great matches. You don't always have to have great matches.
He kidnapped Stephanie McMahon to sacrifice her.
Yeah, yeah. You had the Ministry of Darkness. You had the thing when Kane was first, announced as his brother and shit and all of that. You had him hanging the boss man in a cage, which was horrible. But you had so many different gimmicks. Him and Stone Cold had a great rivalry at the beginning of the Attitude Era.
Oh yeah,
great rivalry. Him and Mankind had great rivalries. I would argue, people say Kane is his greatest rival or Shawn Michaels. I would argue Mick Foley was probably his greatest rival and probably brought out some of the best matches of his while in the Attitude Era.
Yeah. I would argue that his greatest iteration was the American Badass.
Yeah, you would argue that, wouldn't you?
I would. I stand alone, and I know I stand alone, but I stand by my opinions because Limp Bizkit.
You're allowed to.
Motorcycles.
Yeah, because they're cool.
It added, I don't know,
date you at all.
The whole, and I've said this before on the show too, but his fucking feud with DDP when DDP first came over from WCW. That was the shit.
Yep.
Him tossing Booker T around the store. That was Undertaker, right? Stone Cold.
That was Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold.
But that was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool. I don't think they put Undertaker in a fucking supermarket kind of gimmick.
No,
I don't know.
He was out
to
protect his yard, which was the ring. But I did. I really liked the American Badass Undertaker with the last ride.
And he did. I mean, one thing about that American Badass, and you got to give him credit, he just kept evolving, and he kept adding to his moveset.
Yeah.
I mean, whether you like it or love it or hate it, the American Badass was different.
Yeah.
And then he moved on from that and did something different again.
Yeah, he went back to the same old shit, which was only entertaining for me for about a year. And then I was like, God, I want the motorcycle back.
Oh, and some have said that when the Undertaker comes back, he's coming back as the American Badass because he retired his cloak and his gloves and hat.
That would make sense.
He's going to come back as
and
more
the
of
yard
a
was
Calloway
his yard.
character.
Yeah, the yard was his yard when he was the American Badass. That was when the yard came about. Oh my God, I want this for WrestleMania. Roman Reigns and the American Badass. I bet he doesn't get the Limp Bizkit song though.
Oh shit.
God. Woo. Go on to the next one. I got to take a quick pit stop, but I don't want to miss out this next one, but you go into the next one. I'll be right back as quick as I can.
Number 3. He's the chairman of the board, the CEO of the WWE, wrestling's supreme overlord, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. That's right, folks. Vince McMahon cracked the top 3 of our top 25 list of Attitude Era wrestlers. And I mean, who wouldn't put him up there? All you had to do was tune into SmackDown Live this week, and your love for Vince McMahon was rekindled all over again. It was amazing that he allowed Kevin Owens to headbutt him hard enough to crack him open. And you could see the blood start to seep out. And you knew it wasn't a blood pack. And you knew he didn't blade. And it was straight up legitimate. Vincent Kennedy McMahon has been doing this for decades. And he still has it, folks. I've had my doubts. I've said he's slipping into dementia. I've said he's losing it. But the way he played it out on SmackDown this week, oh my God. I'm not done with him. He needs to stick around for a while. Vince McMahon needs to be in his product. He's great. He's wonderful. An old man taking amazing bumps. Holy shit. And we haven't even talked about his best stuff. And that's the Attitude Era Vince McMahon. The Montreal Screwjob. It was me, Undertaker. It was me all along. You know, everything he did with Stone Cold Steve Austin. That whole fucking decade of phenomenal, amazing Vince McMahon moments. Oh. I can't even put it to words, but wrestling as a whole would not be as popular today if it wasn't for Vince McMahon. And that's why he deserved the highest honor as the top 3 in our list, in my opinion. I do believe the Fat Mack is nearing his return. And boy, I'm excited for alternate opinions.
I'm here. The good news is my britches are clean. I got a little scared with that sneeze, but the britches are clean.
That's funny because I just coughed and had the same thing, but I'm okay.
I was like, I'm fucking leaving right now. I either gotta change the drawers or empty the fucking tub.
Now, me and folks were just talking about Vince McMahon on SmackDown this past week, and how, God, if that didn't revitalize your love and appreciation and faith in Vince McMahon, nothing will.
I definitely have faith in Vince McMahon as a performer. I still don't know that I have faith in Vince McMahon as a booker. But he does some things right, and it's good that he's getting Kevin Owens over.
I can't believe he let Owens. I can't believe he let Owens legit bust him open with a headbutt.
Dude, with Shibata, who just fucking ended up having his brain fucking spill out into his head, literally. It's not a good time to be taking hard way headbutts. And Vince not only took a hard way headbutt, but unless I'm totally fucking buying into everything, Owens was throwing real potatoes at him, man. Those were not
I'm sure
Shane McMahon punches.
I'm quite certain Vince told him to give him everything he had. That's why Owens would only hit him when he got back on his feet. If he was going to throw real punches, he wasn't going to go all out.
How scary is that for you as an employee?
Right. Your boss is like, kill me!
He says... Yeah, like, you just wonder, how much is too far where I get fired, and how much is not enough
to where he kills this angle.
You could almost see that look on his face. You could almost see that look on Owen's face in the ring. Like, should I keep doing this? It was great.
No, he did. Owens did a beautiful job for being in the middle of the ring with Vince McMahon. He killed it. And who the fuck jumped in the ring and was covering Vince? Who was that bald-headed fucking goateed motherfucker?
I'm not sure who that was.
Was that literally nobody that they just sent into the ring?
I do like how in 3 professional wrestlers who are built to wrestle get into a ring together, the whole backstage comes out, all the wrestlers come out, but when Vince McMahon is getting his ass kicked by Kevin Owens, it's one person at a time. One person at a time. Maybe 3 referees, and then one person at a time. Like, what the fuck?
And not even like any of the backstage guys that you know are back there, like the fucking Road Dogs and the Dean Malenkos and all of them.
Saw Ken Shamrock
even the Daniel Bryans. I mean, yeah, it's like why aren't these guys? Why aren't they out there?
Yeah, Daniel Bryan didn't come out.
Did we talk about? Yeah.
Although I think Daniel Bryan's probably at least a little bit pissed that all these old McMahons keep getting in the ring and fighting and he can't. You know what? You know what I mean?
Old
Daniel Bryan is probably fuming.
The ring. E-I-E-I-O.
You mean Vince is going to come back and fight and I have to stand here? That is bullshit.
Oh, just wait till Kurt Angle fucking gets to get in the ring again.
Right.
That's really going to tick him off.
And if Stephanie's in the ring at WrestleMania against Rousey, yeah, all the management has matches except for Daniel Bryan.
Right. So did we talk about Attitude Era Vince at all?
No, let's hit a couple points. Well, kind of. I kind of talked about the Montreal screw job, and it was me.
Yeah, right there. That created it, and then of course taking it a step further with him being the Mr. McMahon character and Stone Cold. You could argue, and it's a thin argument, but you could argue you could take anybody else out of the Attitude Era, and it possibly could still happen, except for Vince McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Thin argument. But they were the two main cogs. They're the two that if you took any one of those two out, the thing's falling apart.
Right. Yeah, and I argued that Vince McMahon is quite possibly the reason wrestling is as big as it is today worldwide.
It's hard to argue which one was more influential. Most would have to agree it's probably 50-50. But yeah, Vince McMahon definitely. Without Vince, there is not wrestling the way it is today. Is not. And it's probably not as good as it is today. That may be hard to believe, folks, but bear with me. It's probably not as good as today.
And duly noted, folks, there is a McMahon third from the top, and there's a McMahon third from the bottom. We call that a McMahon-witch.
A McMahon-witch! Me man-witch! Vince McMahon not only creating the Attitude Era with the Montreal Screwjob, but then going on to become maybe the best villain, best heel, best bad guy in wrestling history. Definitely in your top 5. Definitely in your top 5. I wouldn't even say top 10. Vince McMahon, the character, is definitely in your top 5 for heels or villains. Now, Vince McMahon, the human, probably in your top 1 or 2 for biggest villains in history.
Speaking of McMahons and things and recently in wrestling, I did note that when I caught the Connor's Cure video clip, they didn't mention the Superman or the Iron Man at all.
I guess I didn't notice. I wasn't. I was playing on here actually when I was watching it, trying to get our top 40 fucking wrestlers. So I didn't notice that, but somebody must have gave him a phone call.
Right. DC and Marvel are gonna tear apart the WWE.
DC and Marvel are gonna bring cancer back one kid at a time.
Oh shit.
You're not crushing cancer on our watch.
Number 2.
Vince. There you go.
The Rock. The People's Champion. The man with the high eyebrow. And the new Brahma Bull tattoo that most people fucking hate.
I like to call his eyebrow the highbrow.
The highbrow. I taught myself to do the highbrow because The Rock. And it's one of my favorite go-tos nowadays. The funny fact, I can only do the highbrow one way. I can't do it the other way.
See, I'm the same way. I can do it one way,
to give it to the people.
And I can do it the other way if I struggle and wink a few times, I can finally get it. Mine's my left side. Which one is yours? I can lift the left side, bro.
Yeah, me too. Left side.
Is it left? Is it left? I wonder, I wonder what that's about.
I don't know. But I can almost force it, but I know it doesn't look right, and my whole face is scrunched up, and my head's kind of leaning to the side, and so it's not a very effective eyebrow or highbrow whatsoever.
But to be fair, The Rock only did one eyebrow, so maybe he can only do the one eyebrow.
I think he can. I think I read that in his book. I do remember.
He's never switched it up, you know.
Yeah.
The Rock's catchphrases alone probably brought in such a huge chunk of money for WWE. They could have literally just had him come out and spit catchphrases, and go in the back,
Oh yeah.
and they'd make money, and they'd get ratings, and they'd sell pay-per-views.
The Rock's catchphrases are one of the reasons why Cena versus The Rock 2 times in a row at WrestleMania was such a great idea.
Yeah. You know, you talk about charisma, Rock and Hogan. I mean, I don't think there's even an argument. Those two are at your top. You can argue between those two, but I don't anyone else being in that top two.
Yeah. Yeah, not really. Cena's got to be close. Cena's a close third. And then I'd say maybe Jericho.
Yeah. Jericho, you could argue it, but then you can also argue Rock, Hogan, Cena. Jericho never made that money out of his charisma that they brought in. So does it count? I mean, yeah, he has the charisma, but
no, that's what I thought. I thought even if I put Jericho there, it would be a hard fall off to 4th place.
Yeah, just because he didn't bring the money in with his charisma.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing. He could probably go toe-to-toe with all 4 of them. All 3 of them. There's 4
Especially
total.
him
He could
now.
go toe-to-toe with all 3 of them. Yeah, easily. Him now, he could go toe-to-toe with the 3 of them. And he'd be better than Hogan at this point. If we're talking about Hogan now and Jericho now, Jericho smokes Hogan on the mic.
Oh, yeah. Now,
Jericho smokes Rock on the mic. Cena smoked Rock on the mic. Oh, my God, I said he smoked Rock. I'm not saying he's a crackhead, okay? Let me rephrase that.
No, seriously,
Cena,
you go back and you listen to his album, you can hear him freebasing in the background.
Cena took Rock to the limit, called him out for having notes written down, and then literally did something that almost nobody can do. Had The Rock stumbling through the rest of his fucking promo after that. That's huge. When you can make The Rock stumble on his fucking words,
Yeah.
that's huge. So you got to put Cena up there, man.
And I mean, give them their fucking props. They both represented Cocoa Pebbles and Fruity Pebbles, respectively.
There you go. They did.
Team Fruity.
And Hogan had his own brand of cereal. The Rock. We talked about the Rock and Sock connection. The Nation of Domination, of course, was I wouldn't say a big part of the Attitude Era, but it helped launch the Attitude Era to what it was. It was controversial at the time. I guess a lot of people don't realize the Nation of Domination started out as it was actually it was at least 50% white people on there. You had PG-13, you Crush, you had Savio Vega, who was Puerto Rican, and then you had Farouk. D'Lo wasn't there yet. Mark Henry wasn't there yet. Rock wasn't there yet. Who else? Oh, Ahmed Johnson was in there. He's black. So you had Farouk and Ahmed Johnson. And then you had 3 white guys and a Puerto Rican. So the Nation of Domination didn't start out as a Black Panther type group. It did evolve to that.
Once they split them up into factions, Crush left and he started the DOA, Disciples of Apocalypse. Then Savio Vega left and he started some Puerto Rican group that never went anywhere. But it didn't start out with that. But that, you have the Nation of Domination, you have Rock and Sock, you have Rock and Stone Cold.
And everybody always gives The Rock his just dues for his high points. But at the beginning of his career and as a solo, he was one of the most hated wrestlers you'd ever heard the crowd scream at. Die, Rocky, die.
Rocky, die.
Die, Rocky, die.
Yeah, you don't hear that.
Cena doesn't even get that treatment.
He came out as basically, he was the Roman Reigns of his time. He came out as the pushed baby face. We're going to push him. He's going to win. He's flamboyant. He's good looking. He comes from a lineage, and you're going to love him. But the difference between Roman and Rock is they quickly flipped The Rock to heel. They still haven't done that with Reigns yet.
Right.
Why?
Because Vince is standing firmly in the point that there are no heels or faces anymore. At least in certain circumstances.
But it's not true. I mean,
It's not true.
that is true.
In most circumstances,
Reigns is,
there is. You can definitely tell who's the heel, who's the face.
most of them. Gray though, but that's not how they're pushing Roman Reigns. They're pushing him as a face. Stop it.
Rock. I mean, just yeah. The fact that he's one of the highest grossing actors to this day says something, I guess.
Oh yeah. And with that, we're gonna move right on. Okay.
No, for the record, I want to put this out here. I might have mentioned it before, but I'm going to mention it again. For the record, folks, The Rock is not related to any of the fucking Samoans out there, including fucking Roman Reigns. He is not a blood relative to any of them. His grandfather, the high priest Peter Maivia, was quote unquote a blood brother with one of the Anoa'i grandfathers. So they were like close as brothers, but there is no actual DNA connection. So no, none of these motherfuckers are related to The Rock. They're just saying that because The Rock is the biggest fucking name.
Right. Leeching off fame. All right. Moving on to number 1. And if you can't guess it, you're not a real wrestling fan.
No shit.
I wish I could punch my window right now so we could hear glass shatter. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Crack a beer for this guy. Just kidding. We don't have any because we're sick and real lame for a special episode.
Are we? Oh my god. We're so pathetic. Fuck. We let you all down, listeners. We let you down and we apologize. Stone Cold Steve Austin. A BMF, a bad motherfucker. DTA, don't trust anyone. Austin 316. Fucking 1001, you know.
What?
Oh, fuck.
What?
You know what? I purposely blocked that out of my fucking mind and you brought that up.
What?
Yeah. You know what? We should really drop him about 4 pegs just for what?
Right.
God damn it. No. Give the motherfucker his due. He, him and Vince McMahon, and he's arguably, I mean, it goes Bruno Sammartino. Well, let's say it goes George Hackenschmidt, Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, John Cena, ...
The eras. He is, to me, some people like to argue The Rock, but I don't think so. To me, Stone Cold is that era.
Yeah. Yeah, the Rock was great, but he was never, he was made for movies. It's just plain and simple. Stone Cold Steve Austin was made for this company.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Rock was made for Hollywood, and not in a bad way. Rock was made for something more than just pro wrestling.
Right, and
Stone Cold
WWE
has
definitely
gone on to more
needed
than
him
pro
at the
wrestling.
time.
Yes, and Stone Cold's gone on to other stuff than pro wrestling, but he is a wrestler at heart, and I think The Rock is an entertainer at heart. That's kind of my take on the two.
Right. And the character Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't even so much of a character as it was just him being himself, doing what he wanted to do. And that's what made it so great.
And the old line is, the best wrestling characters are just you turned up to 11, And
that's what
he was.
Knocked in
now, as I mentioned before, you know how amps go up to 10 and that's the highest they can go? This one has 11. What? Yeah, when we want to go higher than 10, we turn it to 11. Why couldn't you just make 10 louder?
Right.
Because it has 11. I hope you folks catch that reference. It's a funny movie. Go watch it. Yeah, I forgot where. Oh yeah.
Stone Cold.
Yeah, he was. And as I said, you know, his gimmick was kind of the Sandman's gimmick before him, and I'd be hard pressed to say that he didn't take some of that from the Sandman. He spent time in ECW. He watched ECW. I think he took some of it from the Sandman, but I think he took some of that, added himself into it, and made it so much more than the Sandman ever could. The Sandman was never going to be what Stone Cold Steve Austin is.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, who else got to drink beers in the ring in a professional workplace? Well, I mean, anybody who's Stone Cold passed a beer too. I'm talking in the WWE.
I was always amazed, not at how well Stone Cold caught them, but how well that motherfucker tossed to him.
Oh, yeah.
This dude, like, who's probably a timekeeper or a fucking producer or something, I mean, he chucked them beers exactly where they needed to fucking go. And for anybody who's been drunk, throwing beers aren't the easiest thing to do. They're slippery, they're cylindrical, they're not aerodynamic.
They probably shared hotels a lot and practiced. He dropped a handful
here and there, but they might have. You never know. Sitting in the parking lots and shit. Go back, go back.
Right.
We're doing the Hail Mary.
That'd be great. I would love to see the timekeeper throw him one at the entrance ramp.
Right? Vince McMahon is the biggest. Stone Cold and Rock might be the biggest. Hey, they headlined 3 WrestleManias together. Has anybody else? I think so.
I don't think so.
I know Hogan never headlined 3 WrestleManias with anybody. Cena maybe. You did The Rock twice. Cena might have headlined. That's all I can think of possibly. But you got Stone Cold Bret the Hitman Hart. You got Stone Cold Undertaker. You got Stone Cold Booker T. You got Stone Cold Kurt Angle. Everybody he had a program with, it was a great fucking program. You had Stone Cold teaming up with fucking Dude Love, and they won the tag team titles together.
Right.
And again, what was one of the greatest segments, like you talked about, when the 3 Faces of Foley came out there at the same time. You had the Zamboni. You had the beer truck. You had everything Dean Ambrose wanted to do, but fails at.
Stone Cold and Kurt Angle. I mean,
you had remember when he had the fucking gun to Vince McMahon's head?
Yes.
And then the bang fucking flag came out and Vince pissed himself. You couldn't do that on TV nowadays.
You couldn't.
I'm gonna take the time to give our honorable mention, which we've had 75 so far. But this is the official honorable mention, and it's Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman is an honorable mention, flying Brian Pillman, because he died October 5th, 1997, which was just 35 days before the beginning of the Attitude Era. But his influence is easily felt throughout its entirety. And one of those things was Stone Cold and Brian Pillman. Stone Cold and Brian Pillman had a vicious rivalry, which ended up with Brian Pillman going in to Stone Cold Steve Austin's house and holding him at gunpoint with the camera going out and a gunshot being heard. That was fucking as controversial as it ever got, and that was just shortly before the Attitude Era. Brian Pillman was called the loose cannon, and he easily would have fit in here. But Stone Cold, I mean, Stone Cold Undertaker had just amazing matches against each other. I think everybody. Stone Cold Chris Jericho.
Right.
I guess the only one that he had a really bad match with, which is 2 legends, and it was super sad, him and Scott Hall, when they redid the NWO. And of course this was past the Attitude Era, but that was a horrible WrestleMania match. It was on the same card that seen The Rock take on Hulk Hogan in one of the best WrestleMania matches ever. Yep.
Stone Cold and Scott Hall was just fucking awful. And it's sad because they're two of my favorites. And if we included WCW in this era, Scott Hall would have been on the list. But he's not because it's WWF and he was gone before the Attitude Era. What are your thoughts on SCSA?
Oh, I fucking love him, man. That's why he's at the top. He is the cornerstone. He is the man every man wants to be. And he's just being himself. It's, he's the best.
And he ended up marrying Deborah,
Right.
who I think was the main inspiration for Puppies.
Yep. Oh, shit. It's late.
She used to fuck Jeff Jarrett, who didn't make our list. He was on it but got kicked off.
Yep. It was easy to do.
For good reason. I say you look at the list and definitely for as far as WWF Attitude Era, yeah. He doesn't need to be on there. Deborah could have been on there. You could argue. I mean, it's hard to fit. You can only put so many women on there, especially since most of them, as huge, as over as they were only over because they were tits and ass. They were nothing else. It wasn't their personality. It wasn't their in-ring work. Right. So you kind of had to look at it like, well, what kind of women stood out? And you got
give us a break. We
Wilson.
put Sable up there. I mean, you got the one.
Sable, who started. I mean, I guess you could say Sonny started the TNA, but Sable made it bigger, I guess. And Chyna was a workhorse. Chyna was the only woman. No, not the only woman. The first woman to beat the Royal Rumble. I believe. And then was Awesome Kong in there also? The fucking 3 weeks that she was in WWE.
I don't remember.
I want to say 3 women have been there. I want to say 3 women, but she was also a 2-time Intercontinental champion and the only woman to be an Intercontinental champion. Who she won it from Jeff Jarrett, ironically, also. But that is our top 25.
Took us almost 3 hours to get through 25 wrestlers. We're so good at this.
Fuck! Holy shit! It is that long. So we're gonna let PAystee go. He's got shit to do in the morning.
And at night, my fever spikes up.
I am. Yeah, I evacuated my bowels already, and I think I can go for another at least half hour or so. So, for the Patreon folks, if you want to listen to me speak, if you want to hear about the news of what's going on, and you just want to hear a little bit more, I will be on here anywhere from 1 minute to an hour. We'll see how long I last, but I'll keep it going. We'll let PAystee Whyt say goodbye.
All right, guys. I love you lots. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for sticking with us for 25 episodes, and hopefully you'll stick with us for 25 more, and maybe we'll sign a new contract after that.
100 years, Rick and Morty. 100 episodes. www.rickandmortyadventures.com. rickandmorty.com. 100 episodes, 100 years, Morty, 100 days, and it'll always be Rick and Morty forever.
Make sure you tune in next week for our half-a-year anniversary celebration. That's right. The party don't stop.
That is true. And you know what? We're not going to do it now, but, dude, we didn't even talk about the fucking Rick Lantis adventure. Holy shit. No, we didn't.
That was so good.
We got to discuss that at some point.
Fuck yeah.
God damn.
We'll have to wait till next week, though. Holy shit, it's late.
Half-anniversary next week. 25th this week. PAystee, I appreciate you putting up with the everything. We're going to get through this, Loke. We're going to get through this. We're going to be better than ever next week.
Johnny 5 is alive.
I love you.
I love you. And good night.